Chapter 48-35. At this point, Xiaohua had some doubts and asked, I have another question. I heard that the space in the origin grotto heaven is unstable, and there are often spatial cracks that lead to other realms. From these signs, it seems that the origin grotto heaven is at the edge of the 10,000 demon realm. Since there are spatial cracks there, what is broken? Must be the realm barrier. The suction and tearing force of the spatial cracks must be extraordinary. Even with the ability of the 10,000 demon realm's great saints, they might not be able to escape. If this is the case, how do you explain what Divine Mother Peacock said about ordinary great saints not being able to enter? Without waiting for Divine Mother Peacock to speak, Colorful Phoenix King smiled and said, Great Saint Zhao's words are a bit extreme. Everything is different. The laws of heaven and earth in the 10,000 demon realm are different from the other realms. There will be some differences, but the distribution of the laws of heaven and earth in the realms is not balanced. For example, the power of the stars and moon in some places is very strong, and the power of the stars and moon in other places is very thin. Therefore, when there is a passage between two realms, the suction force and the stability of the passage are related to the laws of heaven and earth in the two realms. If the laws of heaven and earth in the other realms are similar to that of the 10,000 demon realm, the passage will be stable, and the suction force inside will not be particularly strong. Not to mention great saints, even ordinary sun elites might be able to resist it. Moreover, after passing through the passage, there may not be extreme discomfort. In this way, if the laws of the other realms are weaker, great saints with powerful divine powers can choose to avoid it. Oh, I see. Huang Tong nodded slightly and said to Xiaohua, I understand. The 10,000 demon realm, the 4 continents, are the greater thousand world. The Xianyuan space is the so-called lesser thousand world, so the laws of heaven and earth should be somewhat different. Xiaohua's face did not show any joy. After all, what Colorful Phoenix King said was an extreme case. Who knew what accidents he would encounter? Xiaohua retracted his gaze and looked at Colorful Phoenix King, Fire Phoenix King, and Divine Mother Peacock. He asked, which great saint knows about the passage from the Tao celestial world or the night spirit world to the dawn rain continent? I don't know. Fire Phoenix King shook her head. Divine Mother Peacock said, Great Sage Xiao. Don't think too much about the heaven realm and the night spirit realm, because the space channel between them and the 10,000 demon realm is unstable. It's not even as stable as the demon world's spatial passageway. In the past, there were great saints who accidentally entered the night spirit world and Tao celestial world's void cracks, but none of them returned in one piece. How many years until the devil world opens? Huang Tong asked. The colored Phoenix King pondered for a moment before replying, about 7,000 years. Where is the approximate location of the spatial crack? Xiaohua asked. It's not fixed. Holy Mother Peacock knew what Xiaohua was planning to do. She spread her wings, took out a feather, and handed it to Xiaohua. This records the location of the 2 spatial rifts in the demon realm, but I can't guarantee that. These locations haven't changed. Xiaohua took it and carefully put it away. He nodded and said, Many thanks, Holy Mother Peacock. If there is really no other way, this Xiao might consider entering the demon realm. The colored Phoenix King was a little moved. She said, The human race doesn't exist in the 10,000 demon realm, but I see that your body is similar to the demon races. You must be the demon race's food. If you enter the demon realm, won't there be no way out? After all, the great saints of the demon race can't even use 70 to 80% of their abilities in the demon realm. Sigh, there's no other way. Xiaohua smiled bitterly. For the billions of living beings in the 3 continents, this Xiao has to take the risk. Great Saint Xiao. The colored Phoenix King pondered. Actually, the easiest way is to go to the origin grotto heaven. That's where the great saints of the 10,000 demon realm train and comprehend the spatial laws. There are often some inexplicable spatial rifts. If you're lucky enough, there might be a spatial passageway to the dawn rain continent. It's too difficult. Holy Mother Peacock objected. Most of these spatial rifts lead to dead ends. Occasionally, there might be a way to other realms. It's fine if it's the demon realm, but the Tao celestial world, night spirit world, or other realms don't even know the spatial passageway to the Dawn Rain continent. What's the difference between there and the 10,000 demon realm? But if we don't try, how can we go to the Dawn Rain continent? The colored Phoenix King argued. Forget it. Xiaohua thought for a while and raised his hand to take out the Kunlun mirror. The Kunlun mirror. Not only the colored Phoenix King, but even the Fire Phoenix King was slightly stunned. The two great saints of the Phoenix race looked at each other with shock in their eyes. Fellow Taoists. Xiaohua shook the Kunlun mirror, and Feng Wu, Thunder Immortal, and Immortal Yun flew out. Xiaohua bowed and said, "We don't have much time left. If we want to go to the Dawn Rain continent before the destruction of the three continents, I'm afraid we'll have to make some decisions." Feng Wu, Huang Tong, Thunder Immortal, and Immortal Yun looked at each other with determination in their eyes. They looked at Xiaohua and said, "We understand what you're thinking, fellow Taoist Xiao. We'll do as you say." "All right." Xiaohua bowed and said, "If I end up in other realms, I'll leave the important task of breaking the array to all of you." Great Saint Xiao. The Fire Phoenix King heard this and understood. She exclaimed, You want to?" "Yes." Xiaohua nodded and said, "Since the spatial crack that appeared might not necessarily lead to some realm, and this spatial crack might not necessarily lead to a path of life, but it might lead to the Dawn Rain continent after all. Of us 5 great sages, perhaps one of us will end up in the Dawn Rain continent." "Damn it." The Fire Phoenix King cursed in a low voice. "You've cultivated to the great saint realm. How can you trample on your own lives like this? Compared to the billions of lives in the 3 continents, our lives are much lighter." Xiaohua and his clones answered in unison. "Moreover, if we end up in another realm, we might not necessarily lose our lives. Don't worry. Alas, Namo Maitreya Buddha." Although Namo Maitreya Buddha didn't show up, Mother Peacock knew that he was doing the same thing. Mother Peacock couldn't help but chant that. The Fire Phoenix King's blood was boiling. Although she didn't understand why Xiaohua and the other great saints valued other lowly beings so much, she couldn't help but sigh when she saw how spirited they were. She couldn't help but say in a low voice, Phoenix King, Phoenix King. I think, if you're not confident, can you ask the Swift Cherry Grand Sage first?" The Swift Cherry Grand Sage? Feng Wu was puzzled. She asked curiously, "What do you mean, Fire Phoenix King?" "Oh, right." Mother Peacock was pleasantly surprised. "How could I forget? The Origin Grotto Heaven is the realm of the Origin tribe. The Profound 2 Grand Sage and the Swift Cherry Grand Sage are the great saints of the Origin tribe. Although they don't forbid us from cultivating in the Origin Grotto Heaven, they might know the secrets of the Origin Grotto Heaven." "Great Saint Xiao, great saints, why don't you ask the 2 great saints of the Origin tribe?" "Indeed." The Fire Phoenix King said to Feng Wu with a smile, "Phoenix King, why don't you ask the Swift Cherry Grand Sage?" "Ha, it seems that the Fire Phoenix King is a straightforward great saint." Feng Wu laughed. "She's much stronger than the Great Ape King, the Rainbow Lion King, and the Snow Wolf King." The Fire Phoenix King's face froze. She had a bad feeling. She whispered, "Phoenix King, what do you mean? Have you seen the Snow Wolf King?" "Ha!" Feng Wu smiled. "Not only have I seen her, I'm afraid you won't see her again." The Fire Phoenix King looked at the colorful Phoenix King. Both of them were shocked. They couldn't understand how the Snow Wolf King had offended Feng Wu and the other great saints. However, the Fire Phoenix King had never liked the Snow Wolf King. Other than shock, she was gloating. She asked tentatively, "Phoenix King, when did you meet the Snow Wolf King?" "Don't ask." Feng Wu smiled. She offended me, of course. Otherwise, I wouldn't have helped her. As for the specific reason, perhaps you'll know in the future. Since Feng Wu didn't say, the Fire Phoenix King couldn't ask. He thought for a moment and said to the Colorful Phoenix King, Colorful Phoenix King, I just came back from the Origin tribe. It's not convenient for me to go now. You and Mother Peacock can take the Phoenix King and the others to find the Swift Cherry Grand Sage. TSK. The Colorful Phoenix King looked at him with disdain and mocked, when we don't need you, you go to the Origin tribe every day. Now that the two great saints of the Phoenix clan need you, you're shrinking back. It's not like you don't know where the Origin tribe is. It's not like you don't know the Profound Grand Sage and the Swift Cherry Grand Sage. The Fire Phoenix King snorted. She flapped her wings and flew out of the Peacock Palace. She shouted, Why do you want me to go again? Since the Fire Phoenix King doesn't want to go, we'll take Great Saint Shao to the Origin tribe. Mother Peacock watched the Fire Phoenix King fly away and smiled. There's a space portal from the Phoenix Sacred Realm to the Origin tribe's Fusang realm. It won't take much effort. Xiao Hua was overjoyed. He cupped his hands and said, Thank you so much. Mother Peacock and the Colorful Phoenix King hurriedly returned the greeting. Xiao Hua looked at the Thunder Immortal and the others and narrowed his eyes. He didn't use the Kunlun mirror to put them into the space. Instead, he took them out of the Peacock Palace and into the space portal. After coming out of the spatial portal, a huge plane appeared in front of him. This plane didn't look any different from the Thousand Demons' sacred realm. There were mountains, rivers, trees, and flowers. Nearby, there were beautiful flowers and lush green grass. Demon spirits that were several times larger than the demons in the Thousand Demons' sacred realm were playing among the ancient trees. In the distance, there were mountain ranges that rose and fell one after another. In the vast sky, there were many flying feather demon spirits spreading their wings and flying towards the sky. However, when Xiao Hua and the others flew out of the space portal, there was a faint surprise in their eyes. This was because there was a thin primitive aura coming from the left side of the space. It was completely different from the other places in the 10,000 demons realm. Moreover, when Xiao Hua hurriedly looked around, he saw clearly that the demon spirits within 1,000 miles, whether they were flying in the sky or running on the ground, had faint golden or faint silver filaments on their bodies. They were somewhat similar to Demon King Masa in the Zhangyuan realm. Chapter 48-36. The spatial portal that Xiao Hua and the others came out of was at the top of a small hill. When the Holy Mother of Peacock flew out, no demon spirits came over. It was only when Xiao Hua and the other unfamiliar great saints came out that they attracted the attention of the nearby demon spirits. Screech. A sharp screech pierced through the air. More than a dozen vultures spread their wings and flew out from the distant foothills and ancient trees. On the forehead of the leading vulture, there was a golden thread that looked like a flower petal. It was quite eye-catching. Greetings, Colorful Phoenix King and Divine Mother Peacock. Vulture naturally recognized Colorful Phoenix King and Divine Mother Peacock. He moved his gaze away from Xiao Hua and the others and hurriedly greeted them. No need to be so polite. Colorful Phoenix King naturally disdained the ugly vulture. Divine Mother Peacock immediately said with a smile, I have come with Colorful Phoenix King, the great sages of the human race, the great sages of the Phoenix race, and the great sages of the spirit race to greet Profound Grand Sage and Swift Cherry Grand Sage. Please report. Great sages of the human race. Hearing the Peacock Divine Mother mention the great sage of the human clan, the vulture's slender neck immediately shrunk, and the vultures behind it trembled and fled hundreds of meters away. It was obvious that Xiao Hua's fierce reputation had already spread to the Origin race. Vulture looked at Xiao Hua and the others with some fear. After hesitating for a moment, he hurriedly said, Great sages, Divine Mother Peacock, please come with me. Yes. Divine Mother Peacock nodded slightly and turned to explain to Xiao Hua, the place where the two great sages of the Origin race live. is not a place where ordinary demons can go. From here to the origin realm where they live, we need to pass through a spatial portal. Without the approval of the two great sages, this portal cannot be opened. Divine Mother Peacock looked meaningfully at Thunderbolt Immortal and the others as she spoke, but did not say anything else. A few vultures flew out first, probably to report. Xiaohua and the others followed the other vultures to the mountain peak in the distance. Colorful Phoenix King ignored Vulture and the silence where the great sages passed by. Instead, she looked at the mountain peak in the distance and pondered. After a moment, she sent a voice transmission to Huang Tong. Huang Sheng, I want to ask you a question. Oh, Colorful Phoenix King, please. Huang Sheng was not surprised and replied with a smile. Forgive me for being presumptuous. The colored Phoenix King stole a glance at Xiaohua and sent a voice transmission in a low voice. I want to ask. What is the relationship between Phoenix Sage, Great Sage Xiao, Phoenix Sage, Thunder Sage, and the others? What relationship? Huang Tong's eyes turned slightly. She asked even though she already knew the answer. What does Colorful Phoenix King mean? Hee hee. Colorful Phoenix King laughed and said, it's nothing much. I just feel that Phoenix Sage and the others are not much weaker than Great Sage Xiao, but why are they so obedient to him? Furthermore, all of you trust him so much that you actually dared to host your bodies in his magic tool. If he has any ill intentions towards all of you, your lives. Oh, so it's about this. Huang Tong already knew what was going on. She smiled and replied, we don't have any special relationship. We just come from the same realm. Our descendants are all in the world that is about to be destroyed. We are like grasshoppers on a rope. We all want to solve the world's crisis and save our descendants. Helping each other in the same boat shouldn't be a big deal, right? Furthermore, Great Sage Xiao's benevolence is obvious to all in our realms. His magnanimity. I admire him very much. Then, Huang Tong's admiration and words of reverence poured out like the Milky Way and flowed endlessly. After a few minutes, Xiaohua, who was flying in the distance, felt embarrassed. He shouted in his heart to stop Huang Tong from praising herself. The cunning Huang Tong stopped and said with a smile, Colorful Phoenix King, if you have such a fellow Taoist to accompany you into danger, would you be willing to entrust your back to him? Of course, of course. Colorful Phoenix King hurriedly nodded and replied, it's extremely rare to have such a magnanimous demon spirit accompanying me. However, previously, Thunder Sage and the others were all in the Kunlun Mirror. Now, in order to ask about the spatial passage to the Dawn Rain continent, Great Sage Xiao released them all. Does he have the intention of interrogating us? First, Fire Phoenix King excused herself and left, so Colorful Phoenix King did not understand what was going on. Then, when all the sages came together, Colorful Phoenix King suddenly realized that something was wrong. However, she was like an arrow on a bow that had to be released, so she braced herself and asked Huang Tong. Huang Tong already had a plan in mind. He nodded awkwardly and replied, I won't hide it from Colorful Phoenix King. Although Great Sage Xiao didn't discuss it with us, he released Thunder Sage and the others. Obviously, he has the intention of intimidating us. After all, in order to save the lives of the billions of lives in the 3 continents, Great Sage Xiao. And we are willing to pay any price. If Great Sage Shi Xian knows about the spatial passage to the Dawn Rain continent but does not say it, we might take action. Of course, you can rest assured that Great Sage Xiao is the kindest. He will definitely not lay his hands on ordinary demon spirits. What? Hearing this, Colorful Phoenix King became anxious and said anxiously, are you prepared to lay your hands on Great Sage Shi Xian? Huang Tong shrugged and replied innocently, whether or not we lay our hands on him depends on Great Sage Shi Xian's intentions. It's just a spatial passage to the Dawn Rain continent. If you know about it, just say it. There's no need to hide it, right? Oh, that's true. It's just a spatial passage. It's not that important. Colorful Phoenix King suddenly realized and said embarrassedly, I'm sorry, Great Sage Huang. I lost my composure a little. After all, I brought you all to the original realm. I'm afraid that it might cause some misunderstanding. It's fine, it's fine. It's very normal. Huang Tong smiled and looked at the aggressive Thunder Sage. Thunder Sage has a fiery temper. With Great Sage Shao around, he won't be too presumptuous. Too presumptuous. Colorful Phoenix King smiled bitterly in her heart. How could she not understand the meaning behind Huang Tong's words? It seems that he will still be a little presumptuous. However, Colorful Phoenix King was just worried. After all, it was not a big deal for Xiao Hua to go to the original realm. It was just a spatial passage. If there was no spatial passage, then there was no. If there was one, then there was one. There would definitely not be any big trouble. Colorful Phoenix King's probing seemed to have passed, and Huang Tong's probing came again. He immediately said in a low voice, since Colorful Phoenix King asked me a question, then I would like to ask Colorful Phoenix King a question. Oh. Go ahead, Sage Huang. Colorful Phoenix King hurriedly replied. I really want to know what secret Sage Huang wants to ask. It's nothing. Huang Tong smiled and said, in the 1,000 demons sacred realm of the 3 continents, my demon clan has 8 great sages. They are the heaven-defying Thunder Phoenix, the void-escaping Soul Phoenix, the golden-winged Great Rock, the black-armored Pentaceratops, the flying feather Void Beast, the red-flame Vermilion Bird, the nether demonic Dragon Spider, and the 5-colored Sea God Shell. Oh, the black-armored Pentaceratops and the nether demonic Dragon Spider wanted to plot against Great Sage Shao, but they were killed by him. Now, there should be 6 great sages in the 1,000 demons sacred realm. Hearing this, Colorful Phoenix King was a little surprised. She said in surprise, Ah. Isn't Great Sage Shao very benevolent? Why? Why is he so merciless? Hee. Seeing that he had shocked Colorful Phoenix King a little, Huang Tong replied in a low voice, Great Sage Shao is a benevolent person, but there are always some who don't know what's good for them. There's nothing we can do about it. Just like the Great Ape King and the Rainbow Lion King. Great Sage Shao had already warned them, but they still wanted to fight for it. Colorful Phoenix King said helplessly, Sage Huang, when faced with the 5 elements demon spirits. There aren't many great sages who can resist the temptation. If it wasn't for the Thunder Sage's ferocity that day, if it wasn't for the Peacock Mother's assertion, if it wasn't for the Leopard Whale King's departure, perhaps the other great sages would have joined forces. Who would believe Great Sage Shao's words? Forget it, let's not talk about this anymore. It's a little off topic. Huang Tong's goal had been achieved. She immediately returned to the topic and said, I just want to ask, since you're all great sages of the demon clan, why are you called Colorful Phoenix King and Fire Phoenix King with the title King, which is similar to Demon King Masa and the other titles, while the Profound Moon Grand Sage and the Swift Cherry Grand Sage are called Great Sages, which is similar to our 1,000 demons sacred realm? Hearing that Huang Tong was asking about the Profound Moon Grand Sage and the Swift Cherry Grand Sage, the Colorful Phoenix King was not surprised. She answered without hesitation, it's very simple. The Profound Moon Grand Sage and the Swift Cherry Grand Sage are the sages of all sages. They were the first 2 demon spirits to become great sages in the 10,000 demons realm. Their names are engraved at the top of the sage rankings. In order to show our respect to them, we don't dare to call ourselves great sages. This is a tradition that has been passed down in the 10,000 demons realm for many years. Hearing this, Huang Tong gasped and asked in surprise, What do you mean, Colorful Phoenix King? Could it be that the Profound Moon Grand Sage and the Swift Cherry Grand Sage have always been in the 10,000 demons realm? Are they immortal? The Colorful Phoenix King did not answer immediately. Instead, she raised her head and looked closer. When she saw that Xiao Hua and the others were only moving and did not pay attention to her, she answered, This is the secret of the 2 great sages of the Origin clan. I don't know much about it. However, when it comes to immortality. It's not that far. The 10,000 demons realm is not the demon alliance. They don't have the strength to surpass the laws of the 10,000 demons realm. In front of the laws of heaven and earth, all living things in the 10,000 demons realm can live and die. Oh, I see. Huang Tong agreed thoughtfully. The two great sages of the Origin clan have a special inheritance method that allows them to borrow the power of reincarnation to be born in the Origin clan. Huang Tong might not know about Buddhism, but she was no stranger to the power of reincarnation. When she heard Huang Tong's question, she shook her head slightly and said, the inheritance of the two great sages probably has nothing to do with the power of reincarnation. This is because they don't have any obvious life and death. They just disappear quietly at certain times. When they reappear, although they still have the strength of a great sage, their aura will be somewhat different. It may be weak, thin, or chaotic. Chapter 48-37. Is the time of disappearance fixed? How long is it? Huang Tong did not wait for Colorful Phoenix King to finish and immediately asked. However, it was not out of her expectations. Colorful Phoenix King was already prepared. She smiled slightly and transmitted her voice, Phoenix Saint, you are overthinking. Although you are a great sage of the Phoenix clan, you are also a demon spirit that I can trust. However, if you want to ask about the secrets of the 10,000 demon realm based on our trust over the past few years, it is impossible. You are quite straightforward. Huang Tong was not regretful. Instead, she replied with a smile, I just want to ask more about the situation of the two great sages. Of course. Colorful Phoenix King replied, I just want to tell Phoenix Saint that in the 10,000 demon realm, the Origin clan is far from the Origin clan that Phoenix Saint thinks it is. Similarly, the Origin realm where the two great sages live is definitely not an ordinary demon realm. Huang Tong retorted, what? Is Colorful Phoenix King warning I? Sigh. The colored Phoenix King sighed. She looked at the top of a mountain in the distance where an almost circular five-colored silhouette gradually appeared. She transmitted her voice, I just want to explain to Phoenix Saint that the two great saints were born from the great sun primordial spirit and the great Eam primordial spirit of the 10,000 demon realm. The original realm they live in is the foundation of the 10,000 demon realm. Their safety concerns the entire 10,000 demon realm. Huang Tong smiled slightly and replied, don't worry, Colorful Phoenix King. Since you can tell I everything you know, I will definitely pass on your words to Xiao Sheng. That's good. There was some bitterness in the Colorful Phoenix King's mouth. It has only been a few decades since all of you broke through the boundary and triggered the saint ranking. In just a few decades, the three great saints of my 10,000 demon realm have fallen in your hands. The fall of the three great saints has already caused chaos in the 10,000 demon realm. Previously, I hoped that Phoenix Saint and Phoenix Saint could keep the 10,000 demon realm and the Phoenix sacred world. Now, I can't wait to send you away. Colorful Phoenix King's words were almost heartfelt. Huang Tong also helplessly replied, Colorful Phoenix King is thinking too much. We are even more anxious than you, but it's a pity that fate makes fools of us. Even now, we still haven't found the spatial tunnel to the Dawn Rain continent. If we can get some information from the Swift Cherry Grand Sage, we will leave immediately. I hope so. The Colorful Phoenix King replied before spreading its wings and flying forward. Huang Tong smiled and asked Xiaohua in her heart, what do you think, fellow Taoist? The Colorful Phoenix King's words should be true. Xiaohua replied, the Xi Xian Supreme Sage's original form is a three-legged golden crow. His entire body is filled with the essence of the sun. He should be an original spirit born from the power of the sun. The true form of the Swift Cherry Grand Sage was a jade rabbit. Her entire body was filled with the qi of Taiyin. She should be an original spirit born from the power of Taiyin. They were different from ordinary demon spirits. especially the swift cherry grand sage. When we were attacking the great ape king, she had already noticed You may not know this, but when I was in the upper realm, my left arm was imprinted by the moon beast. Although the imprint disappeared, it was still there. She could have felt the aura of the imprint. Huang Tong nodded and said, I also think that these words are true. However, if you say that the survival of these two supreme sages is related to the entire 10,000 demon realm, I think that it's a bit exaggerated. I'm afraid that the colorful Phoenix King was afraid that we would force the swift cherry grand sage to make this up, right? She didn't say that it was true. Xiaohua smiled and said, she only heard about it. She can't be sure if it's true or not. At this point, Xiaohua stopped and looked at the space portal that was close to 100 miles away. At this time, the portal had already taken shape. The outline of the portal was overflowing with 7 colors. Layers of light spots emerged from the huge circular edge and gathered towards the center like water ripples. When they reached the center, they rolled back towards the edge again. Layers of illusions were produced as the light spots collided. Sigh, I hope that I can get information about the space portal from the profound Noa Grand Sage or the swift cherry Grand Sage. Xiaohua could not help but feel a sense of desolation. He had always been kind to people and treated things with kindness. It was rare for him to have such a forceful heart. However, before he could do anything, the colorful Phoenix King saw through it. This made him feel a little embarrassed. When the vultures who were leading the way saw the space portal appear, they naturally knew that the profound Noa Grand Sage had agreed to let Holy Mother Peacock and the others go to the original realm. After leading Xiaohua and the others to a place dozens of miles away from the space portal, they stopped again and said respectfully, Holy Mother Peacock, Supreme Sages, my 2 Supreme Sages have allowed you to go to the Holy World. I dare not go too close to the Divine Temple. Please forgive me. Okay. Holy Mother Peacock nodded her head. The group of vultures hurriedly flew away and lined up far away from the mountain peak. Holy Mother Peacock looked at the colorful Phoenix King and Xiaohua again and said, After you, Supreme Sages. You lead the way. The colorful Phoenix King would not give Holy Mother Peacock the chance to escape. She ordered without hesitation. All right. Holy Mother Peacock smiled slightly. She flapped her wings and rushed into the colorful space portal. It was slightly different from the space portal that they had seen before. Before Holy Mother Peacock's figure entered, the colorful light spots had already turned into stripes. When Holy Mother Peacock's figure entered the space portal, the hundreds of stripes started to spin like a wheel. A passageway that shone with the brilliance of the sun and moon appeared in the void. As Holy Mother Peacock's figure disappeared, the hundreds of stripes of light started to spin in the opposite direction again. They covered the passageway that shone with the brilliance of the sun and moon. The colorful Phoenix King followed closely behind Holy Mother Peacock. When she flew closer to the space portal, the stripes of light appeared again. The Thunderbolt Immortal was right behind the colorful Phoenix King. His teleportation technique was extremely fast. Before the stripes of light could cover the passageway, he had already rushed to the front of the space portal. However, at this moment, a gentle force blocked him, preventing him from following the colorful Phoenix King in. The Thunderbolt Immortal was slightly stunned. It was also at this moment that the stripes of light shrank. Another light wheel started to spin, revealing the space portal that shone with the brilliance once again. The Thunderbolt Immortal did not suspect anything. He urged his figure to enter again. At this moment, Huang Tong, who was flying in the middle, hurriedly shouted, Fellow Daoist Thunderbolt, don't be anxious. What's the matter? While she was speaking, the Thunderbolt Immortal's figure had already touched the edge of the space portal. A powerful suction force was generated from within, like a large hand grabbing the Thunderbolt Immortal. The Thunderbolt Immortal was shocked. Lightning flashed around his body, and he instantly flew out of the space portal. The rotating light wheel did not stop at all. As the Thunderbolt Immortal flew out, it slowly closed again. What's the matter? Xiaohua saw the slight change in the Thunderbolt Immortal's expression and could not help but frown. He asked softly. There's a suction force inside the space portal. The Thunderbolt Immortal stood in midair, frowning as he watched the portal return to its original appearance of light spots. He then turned to Huang Tong and asked, "What's the matter, fellow Taoist?" Huang Tong did not answer directly. Instead, she looked at the space portal that was still shining brilliantly, then at the vultures standing respectfully in the distance. She even released her Yuan will to check the situation of the Origin clan nearby. After a moment, Huang Tong smiled and said, "Nothing. It's just that I feel that this space portal is not only different from the one in the 10,000 demon realm, but also different from the teleportation formation of our Dao sect. So, I suddenly thought of some traps in the mystic dimension. That's why I reminded you." "That's right." Xiaohua nodded and said, "One should not have the intention to harm others, but one should always be wary of others. We're in a different world, so it's better for us to be careful. The location of the space portal may change when it closes. If we enter separately, we may appear in different places in different original realms." Previously, the colorful Phoenix King had also made it clear that the strength of the Xi Xian Grand Sage and the Swift Cherry Grand Sage is far more powerful than what we see on the surface. If they have any ill intentions, I'm afraid we'll be at a disadvantage in the original realm. Reverend Yun smiled and said, "Fellow Taoist, you're thinking too much. I see that the Swift Cherry Grand Sage has a quiet character, and is not a demon spirit that will stir up trouble. Moreover, the two Grand Sages did not have any special malice in front of the Gale Abyss that day, did they?" "Ha, I'm just thinking too much. You don't have to take it seriously." Huang Tong smiled and said, "Fellow Taoist Xiao, why don't you take out the Kunlun mirror first, and we'll enter together." Looking at the meaningful smile in Huang Tong's eyes, Xiaohua naturally saw through it. He took out the Kunlun mirror and activated his magic power, allowing all his clones to enter his body. Then, Xiaohua put away the Kunlun mirror and rushed into the space portal with a flash. Just as the Thunderbolt Immortal had said, as the light wheel spun, a huge force was generated and pulled Xiaohua's body into the Sun and Moon Brilliance Passage. On the walls of the passage, there were huge shadows of suns and strange shadows of purple moons. The outlines of suns and moons quickly overlapped and intertwined. In the end, they stretched and twisted, turning into streaks of light that were uncertain whether they were real or not. These streaks of light even gradually expanded and scattered, like ink falling into water. As the streaks of light dimmed, the suction of the space portal slowed down, but a heavy pressure was generated. This pressure was much stronger than the one Xiaohua had encountered before. Hiss. Xiaohua frowned and thought to himself, could it be that the original realm where the profound Nuan Supreme Sage and the Swift Cherry Grand Sage live is not in the demon realm? Or perhaps, the profound Nuan Supreme Sage and the Swift Cherry Grand Sage really have bad intentions? However, Xiaohua was still thinking too much. Although the pressure of the teleportation continued to increase, and the light surrounding the tunnel continued to dim, after half a cup of tea's time, a bean-sized spot of light appeared in the pitch-black darkness. In an instant, that spot of light transformed into a round sun, and its brilliance flooded the area around Xiaohua. As Xiaohua's figure crashed into it, the pressure suddenly disappeared. Xiaohua only felt his vision blur, and his figure was actually in a place he had never imagined. Xiaohua looked around. Although he had already traveled through several realms and had seen many strange sights, when he saw everything in front of him clearly, he was a little dumbfounded again. Chapter 48-38. This was a space with no sky or earth. The entire space was supported by two gigantic trees. These two trees looked different. One shone with golden light while the other shone with silver light. However, in Xiaohua's eyes, they were exactly the same. Regardless of whether it was the thickness of the roots or the luxuriance of the leaves, everything was the same. Furthermore, the space was filled with golden and silver light. Beside every golden light, there was a silver light. In fact, in many places, the golden and silver light intertwined to form a golden and silver vortex. There were also strange scenes where the sun and moon shone at the same time. Xiaohua's eyes wandered and he suddenly felt that there were countless suns and moons rising. It also felt like there were countless illusions being created and destroyed. There wasn't any special heaven-earth yuan qi in this space. The entire space slowly turned into a kind of hot liquid that was similar to seawater. Even with Xiaohua's strong body, he could feel a kind of sharp heat piercing deep into his body. Xiaohua released his consciousness. Although his consciousness was not restricted, it was still hindered by the hot liquid. There was no freedom outside of this space. However, what surprised Xiaohua was that an aura similar to the spiritual guts of the spiritual world in his space rushed out uncontrollably from the roots of the two towering trees. It emitted heat in the hot liquid. It seems like... Xiaohua squinted his eyes. He stood in the space and looked around. He thought to himself, the colorful Phoenix King is right. The origins of the profound Nuan Grand Sage and the swift Cherry Grand Sage should be related to the spiritual guts of the 10,000 demons realm. Even if they do not bear the heavy responsibility of maintaining the stability of the 10,000 demons realm, they should be original spirits born from the essence of the sun and moon. However, after looking around, Xiaohua's heart skipped a beat. This was because in the entire space, there was nothing else other than the two trees. Not only were the profound Nuan Grand Sage and the swift Cherry Grand Sage nowhere to be seen, even the colorful Phoenix King and the divine Peacock Mother who came in earlier were nowhere to be seen. Seeing this, Xiaohua could not help but laugh coldly. Huang Tong's prediction was right. Even if the two origin Grand Sages did not have any ulterior motives, they were still worried about him. Where are the two Grand Sages? Xiaohua was on guard in his heart, but he didn't lack etiquette. After looking around, he cupped his fists and said, "This Xiao has an important matter that I wish to consult with you about." Boom! A thunderous sound that shook the entire space came from the crown of the golden tree. A golden light that was not much inferior to the real sun appeared amidst the thunderous sound. The three-legged golden crow of the Xi Xian Grand Sage stepped through the void and landed on the tree. As the three-legged golden crow descended, the entire tree began to tremble. In particular, as the tree trembled, the entire space began to sway. Heat waves that were more powerful than a tsunami rushed towards Xiaohua, rushing towards every corner of the space. For a moment, the entire space was filled with golden light, and the silver light disappeared. The golden light was so intense that even Xiaohua couldn't help but close his eyes. Xiaohua. The Enchanting Supreme Sage's voice was like that of a deity's. It was unusually majestic in the space. You have some guts. How dare you come to my original realm? Xiaohua smiled slightly. His eyes flashed with a fiery light. He slowly raised his head and looked at the three-legged golden crow standing on the top of the tree. The Enchanting Supreme Sage's demonic body stood in the air. Not only did the golden light shine in all directions, but the fiery light that soared into the sky was also like lava from a volcanic eruption. Countless bubbles surged out of the lava and floated in all directions. However, these bubbles could not float too far away. This was because the other tree in the distance did not react to the appearance of the Enchanting Supreme Sage. Although the silver light was covered by the golden light, when the bubbles came into contact with the silver light, they all shattered and turned into strands of golden silk that disappeared into the lava. The three-legged golden crow in the flames looked similar to Xiaohua's golden body. However, when Xiaohua's gaze fell on it, an incomparably large object immediately appeared in his eyes and rushed straight into his mind. An indescribable fear involuntarily rose from the bottom of Xiaohua's heart. Hee. Xiaohua smiled slightly. The thunder around him trembled slightly, blocking the disturbance caused by the three-legged golden crow. He opened his mouth and said, "The original realm is not some dragon's lair or tiger's den. I also do not have any ill intentions. Why would I not dare to come?" Ha ha ha. The Enchanting Supreme Sage laughed loudly. His boundless power dissipated with his laughter. Even the blinding fiery light slowly disappeared. However, the Xian Xian Supreme Sage said, "The human race, oh the human race. You are indeed an extraordinary spirit clan. In the face of my majesty, you are actually so calm. You truly deserve my respect. I wouldn't dare." Xiaohua smiled and said, "The human race is inferior to the spirit clans of the 10,000 demon realm. However, I feel that as long as one is a spirit clan, no matter how strong the other party is, one must maintain one's self-esteem. If one cannot be neither arrogant nor humble and bend in the face of power, then others need not respect one too much." Well said. The Xian Xian Supreme Sage stopped smiling and nodded. This is not something that an ordinary demon clan Supreme Sage can say. I cannot help but look at Xiao Sheng in a new light once again. Xiaohua looked around and asked, "I do not understand what the Supreme Sage means. Where did the colorful Phoenix King and Divine Peacock Mother go?" "He, they are in the original realm," the Xian Xian Supreme Sage replied. "However, I have something to ask Xiao Sheng, so I did not let them appear for the time being. Once you and I have made things clear, they will naturally appear." "Oh. What does the Supreme Sage want to ask?" Xiaohua was stunned and asked curiously. "My matter is simple. Just one sentence and 2 questions. There is no need to mention them now. May I know what is so important that Xiao Sheng has come to the original realm today?" The Xian Xian Supreme Sage flapped his wings and replied. Xiaohua did not hide and went straight to the point. "To be honest, I said before that I will leave the 10,000 demon realm after obtaining the 5 elements original spirits. However, I could not find the space passage to the Dawn Rain continent, so I had no choice but to come to the original realm. I would like to ask the Supreme Sage to tell me." Dawn Rain continent? Supreme Sage Shi Xian had a strange expression on his face. After pondering for a moment, he said, "To tell you the truth, I don't know the spatial passage from the 10,000 demon realm to the Dawn Rain continent. I'm sorry to disappoint you." Although he was mentally prepared when he came, Xiaohua still felt as if his heart had fallen into an ice cellar when he heard the Xian Xian Supreme Sage admit it. He could not help but beg, "Xian Xian Supreme Sage, please think about it carefully. There is no need for a stable space passage or any cracks. Just a general direction is enough. I am eternally grateful." "Oh." Xiao Sheng. The Xian Xian Supreme Sage was stunned and asked curiously, "Are you begging me?" "That's right." Xiaohua did not feel the slightest shame when he heard the Xian Xian Supreme Sage's mocking words. He said in all seriousness, "I am indeed begging the Supreme Sage to enlighten me so that I can return to the Dawn Rain continent as soon as possible. I hope to have a chance to break the immortal formation and save the billions of lives in the 3 continents. Ha, you are a great sage of the human race. How dare you beg me in such a lowly manner?" Grand Sage Tuo Xian laughed out loud. His words shocked Xiaohua. From this, it can be seen that the etiquette, justice, integrity, and honor that you humans speak of are nothing. Your so-called persistence in your hearts has no bottom line at all. "Why do you say that, Supreme Sage?" Xiaohua said coldly, "My actions may be an insult to my dignity, but what does this have to do with the human race?" "Nothing." The Xian Xian Supreme Sage flapped his wings and raised his golden beak. "Now that you've asked your questions, it's time for me to ask you something. Please." Xiaohua suppressed his anger and nodded. "I have 2 questions." The Xian Xian Supreme Sage said, "First, did you kill the Snow Wolf King?" "That's right." Xiaohua did not deny it and nodded. "Xiaohua, oh Xiaohua." The Xian Xian Supreme Sage could not help but sigh. The 10,000 demon realm has not lost a great sage in so many years. You just made it to the top of the saint rankings and there are already great sages dying at your hands. Do you think I can tolerate you killing them?" Hearing this, Xiaohua understood. It was not that the Xian Xian Supreme Sage did not want to attack him that day at the Gale Abyss, but he did not have full confidence. Now that he had walked right into the trap, how could the Supreme Sage let him go? Therefore, he said coldly, "Great Sage, I have already killed the Great Ape King and the Rainbow Lion King. If you cannot, I have also killed the Snow Wolf King. This has nothing to do with whether you can tolerate it or not." Ha ha ha. Supreme Sage Xian laughed loudly. He flapped his wings and countless flames soared into the sky, covering most of the space. His angry voice could be heard from the flames. "I still want to know why you killed the Snow Wolf King. Is this your second question?" Xiaohua looked at the flames with interest and the laughter of the three-legged golden crow. He was not nervous at all. The Xian Supreme Sage's body grew larger in the flames and his voice was fierce. "This is not the second question. But if you don't want to answer, then I will not ask. But I want to guess, did the Snow Wolf King discover the humans you brought to the 10,000 demon realm? You did not want her to spread the news of the humans in the 10,000 demon realm, so you killed her?" Hiss. Xiaohua sucked in a breath of cold air, the flames in his eyes turning cold. His voice was as cold as ice. "So Great Sage's second question is to ask this Xiao, where are the humans in the 10,000 demon realm?" Not bad, not bad, humans do have the potential to boast. I have not said it yet, but you can understand. I am impressed. The Xian Grand Sage nodded vigorously. The space around him had already started to boil. The hot liquid was like boiling water. "Oh, in your human race, this is called." You know what it means, right? Give it a recommendation vote, collect it, gift it, and thank you for all your support. Chapter 48-39. I don't think your words are funny at all. Xiaohua replied faintly, "I only think that you are threatening me, and I can see that you are walking towards the Snow Wolf King's death." Ha ha ha. Yuan Xian Supreme Sage laughed again, the flames in the sky swayed with his laughter, just like Yuan Xian Supreme Sage's mocking expression. "Xiaohua, you always say that you are doing this for the sake of the lives of billions of people in the 3 continents. Not only did you use this as an excuse to steal the 5 elemental spirits of the demon realm, but you also used this as an excuse to kill 3 great sages of the demon realm. Are the lives of the 3 great sages of the demon realm not worth their lives? Are the lives of billions of people in the 3 continents the only ones worth their lives? You keep saying that you are doing this for the sake of the 3 continents, and you even sent the descendants of the 3 continents to the demon realm. Then, as a great sage of the demon realm, can I also think for the sake of the billions of demons in the demon realm, and kill the humans who invade the demon realm? Or even you great sages?" At this point, Xiaohua no longer denied that he brought the descendants of the human race. He thought for a moment and said, "I have no choice. After all, if I cannot break the immortal formation, then the 3 continents will be a dead end. For the sake of the bloodline of the human race, I have no choice but to send the descendants of the human race to the demon realm. Furthermore, the demon realm is the world of demons, the human race is at an absolute disadvantage. How many humans can I bring? Don't worry, great sage. Xiaohua, do you think that I am a country bumpkin who has never seen the world?" Yuan Xian Supreme Sage's words shocked Xiaohua. He did not wait for Yuan Xian Supreme Sage to finish speaking and immediately shouted, "Yuan Xian Supreme Sage, you have been to the Dawn Rain continent?" "I don't know if the place I went to was the Dawn Rain continent." Yuan Xian Supreme Sage said coldly, "It seems that the name of that place is not Dawn Rain. However, what this saint knows is that this saint has seen the greed of the human world, the ugliness of human nature, and the cruelty of cannibalism. As for the so-called human race, I already know it in my heart. Furthermore, to tell you the truth, the essence of this saint's previous life was also killed by a human's arrow. Tell me, will I allow these locust-like humans to exist in my 10,000 demon realm? Would I let a great sage of the human clan escape from the demon realm?" Xiaohua was startled and instantly understood something. He looked around and exclaimed in a low voice, "In that case, this isn't the original realm, but the so-called rushing current valley?" Are these two towering trees the legendary Fusang trees? As I thought. Grand Sage Xiang Xian laughed viciously. Xiaohua, your background is indeed extraordinary. That great saint who came with you, who isn't listed on the saint rankings, should be a descendant of a primordial grand shaman, right? If not for the inheritance of the Magihumans, how would you know about these ancient secrets? As he looked at the Si Xian Grand Sage, Xiaohua pinched his chin and felt conflicted. The Si Xian Grand Sage's words were not without reason. From the point of view of the three continents, it was natural for him to bring the descendants of the human clan to the 10,000 demon realm. After all, this was the last hope for the human clan to reproduce. However, from the point of view of the 10,000 demon realm, they were extremely unwilling for the human clan to forcefully enter this realm where only the demon spirits existed. He was the human clan, demon clan, and dragon clan of the three continents. He was an intruder who entered without the consent of the 10,000 demon realm's demon spirits. He might be able to bring the Confucian cultivators and the Buddhist clan back to the Dawn Rain continent, but the demon clan and dragon clan definitely could not. There's no such thing as having it both ways. There's no absolute right or wrong in everything. After a moment, Xiaohua had already made a decision. He raised his voice and said, "Since I'm from the three continents, I have to think about the existence of the three continents. Since I'm from the human clan, I have to think about the future of the human clan. Just like how Great Sage thinks about the demon spirits of the 10,000 demon realm. If there's any trouble, I hope Great Sage can understand." As he said that, Xiaohua bowed again. Unfortunately, Xian Xian Supreme Sage was not moved. Instead, he said coldly, "If respect is enough, should I make the Great Ape King, Rainbow Lion King, and Snow Wolf King kneel in front of Xiao Sheng? It doesn't matter." Xiaohua's face smiled, "I only ask for peace of mind, and to do something for the human clan. The life and death of the demon clan. I'm afraid it's beyond my power." Well said, well said. Xian Xian Supreme Sage's two wings transformed into two large hands. He clapped his hands and laughed, "For the billions of demon spirits of the 10,000 demon realm, I have to kill Xiao Sheng and the human clan. I hope Xiao Sheng can understand." Well said, well said. Xiaohua's smile revealed a sense of helplessness. "You and I both have a heavy burden on our shoulders. As long as Great Sage is not afraid of being killed by the sun shooting arrow, you can do anything you want." "What? You have the sun shooting arrow?" Xian Xian Supreme Sage trembled slightly. The large hands shattered, and his regenerated wings fluttered slightly. His body flew away from the Fusang tree. Xiaohua said faintly, "Great Sage, don't be afraid. Not only do I have the sun shooting arrow, but I also don't have the divine bow. However, my Abhijna will not disappoint Great Sage." As he said that, Xiaohua raised his hand and took out the Kunlun mirror from his Taoist robe. He. Xian Xian Supreme Sage laughed coldly, "Xiaohua, this is the Valley of Tang. You are under the Fusang tree. Do you think this is where you can be arrogant?" Xiaohua activated the Kunlun mirror. The Kunlun mirror's brilliance disappeared. Furthermore, wherever Xiaohua's consciousness swept, the Xinhua continent disappeared. The laws of heaven and earth were completely different from when he first entered the original realm. "Oh no." Xiaohua's expression changed slightly. "Ha!" Xian Xian Supreme Sage laughed loudly and said proudly, "Since you know this is the Valley of Tang, why don't you know that this Valley of Tang is formed by my essence soul? This Valley of Tang is me, and I am the Valley of Tang. Once you are in the Valley of Tang, do you think you can do whatever you want?" As the Xian Xian Supreme Sage's laughter fell, the entire original realm began to tremble. Countless flames mixed with golden light turned into a monstrous force that crashed down. It was about to smash Xiaohua's golden body into powder. Could it be that in the end, only power can speak? Xiaohua was extremely helpless. As he waved his hand, countless thunderbolts appeared from his hand and turned into a five-colored lightning hand that rose into the sky and met the world-destroying golden light. Hiss. In the original realm, everything was under Xian Supreme Sage's control. Seeing that Xiaohua's five-colored lightning was filled with the way of life and death, Xian Supreme Sage could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. Without waiting for the golden light to fall into the lightning hand, he spread his wings and his demon body, which was like a scorching sun, fell into the Fusang tree. Boom! Just as the Xian Supreme Sage's body disappeared, the hand of lightning collided with the golden light of annihilation. The golden light of annihilation was unparalleled and overbearing, but it was no match for the golden light of annihilation. There was a deafening sound as the golden light of annihilation rapidly dissipated and the flames were extinguished. However, the golden light of the original realm was like a mighty wave. As it was extinguished, it also shattered Xiaohua's lightning hand. Naturally, Xiaohua had already noticed Xian Supreme Sage's actions. He hurriedly rushed into the sky and rubbed his hands together. Rays of golden light as thick as a child's arm fell into the void. In the space near Xiaohua, the sound of wind and thunder could be heard. One after another, the shadow of the immortal slaying stage appeared and rushed towards the Fusang tree. Ka. Before the giant lightning shadow of the immortal slaying stage could get close, the golden Fusang tree suddenly trembled. 10 rays of light of different colors surged out from the 10 thickest branches of the Fusang tree. In the blinding light, 10 cries that sounded exactly the same could be heard. The 10 of them looked exactly the same. Only the three-legged multicolored crows of different colors revealed themselves. When the 10 three-legged multicolored crows appeared, the entire original realm immediately stirred up an endless chaotic storm. The originally scorching hot lava entered the bodies of the 10 three-legged multicolored crows faster than the chi of heaven and earth. Above Xiaohua's head and under his feet, even more spiritual guts rushed into the original realm and turned into boundless hot lava. Caw. Among the 10 three-legged multicolored crows, the golden three-legged golden crow roared angrily. It flapped its wings and pounced in front of Xiaohua. It said coldly, "Xiaohua, today, even if you have 3 heads and 6 arms, you will still turn into dust. Don't blame me for not warning you earlier. If you had left that day, I would not have been able to do anything to you. But since you have delivered yourself to me, I have no choice but to kill you for the peace of the 10,000 demon realm." Caw. Caw. After a few clear cries, the purple, red, and other multicolored crows flapped their wings and surrounded Xiaohua. However, Xiaohua could see clearly that other than the three-legged golden crow's bright eyes and the purple three-legged purple crow's eyes were half closed, the other 8 multicolored crow's eyes were lifeless. They were clearly spirits that had not awakened. In an instant, Xiaohua understood that the grand sage Qianqian mentioned by the colorful Phoenix King was not the one in front of him. It was the collective name of these 10 multicolored crows. Just like the Hou-Yi shooting the sun, in the legend of the sorcerer tribe, there was only one sun hanging in the sky every day. In the original realm of the 10,000 demon realm, there was only one three-legged multicolored crow in each generation that would awaken. As the current grand sage Qianqian. 10 multicolored crows were 10 grand sages. They were real grand sages, not illusions or doppelgangers. Although they had not awakened, their oppressive aura had firmly locked onto Xiaohua. It seemed that as long as the three-legged golden crow gave the order, they would tear Xiaohua into pieces at the same time. What a pity. Xiaohua smiled slightly. He looked at the confined space and said, "Grand Sage Qianqian, I am destined to disappoint you today. Although I don't have 3 heads and 6 arms, I have 10 heads and 20 arms. Fellow Taoists, you can show yourselves now." Chapter 48-40. As he spoke, Xiaohua pretended to be mysterious and patted his head. Boom boom boom. A series of thunderclaps sounded out of thin air. The Thunder Immortal, Feng Wu, Huang Tong, and the other avatars flew out one after another. They. As Xiaohua's avatars flew out, Xian Supreme Sage's eyelids could not help but twitch. How could they come out of the Kunlun mirror? When Taoist Witch and Demon Venerable Shi flew out, Xian Supreme Sage's shock could not be any greater. He thought that Xiaohua would have an ancient witch tribe companion, but he never thought that Demon Venerable Shi could also be listed on the saint ranking in the demon realm. Of course, Demon Venerable Shi's name would not appear on the saint ranking. Demon Venerable. Xian Supreme Sage almost groaned. How is this possible? Great Sage, you have a good plan. Seeing that his avatars had blocked the aura of the 8 three-legged colorful crows, Xiaohua said coldly, "You were afraid that I would bring all of them here at the same time, so you tampered with the space portal and made me suspicious." Fellow Xiaohua, you are wrong. Huang Tong smiled. There is absolutely no problem with the space portal, the problem is with the Fusang tree. The Fusang tree divided the so-called Tang Valley into 10 levels. If you and I came in separately, we would fall on different levels and be defeated by this guy. But if we came in together, he could use the power of the realm to imprison the space of the Kunlun mirror, making it impossible for us to come out of the Kunlun wonderland. This guy's plan is flawless. What a cunning crow. Xiaohua nodded and raised his hand to point at Xian Supreme Sage. It's a pity that he still shot himself in the foot. It's okay. Thunder Immortal smiled and raised his hand to point. The stone is not big and he has many feet. It's okay to smash one. Damn it. The three-legged golden crow was furious. It opened its mouth and a golden halo fell into the air, covering Xiaohua like a fishing net. At the same time, the three-legged purple crow beside him also opened its mouth and another purple halo fell. As the two halos echoed, the space around Xiaohua melted like a candle and flowed into the mouths of the two three-legged golden crows. Not good. Why is the spatial energy of the original realm so strange? Xiaohua did not feel anything strange about his golden avatar. However, as far as he could see, his golden avatar was also melting along with the space, flowing like water. Xiaohua could not help but exclaim softly. At this moment, the other 8 three-legged multicolored crows also opened their mouths. Halos of various colors fell from the sky. The entire rushing current valley really turned into soup and fell into their mouths. Xiaohua was not the only one who was shocked. Even Huang Tong, who was proficient in spatial escape techniques, was shocked. He clearly knew that the three-legged golden crow's control of the entire original realm had surpassed his control of the spatial laws. Furthermore, the three-legged golden crow knew that he might not be able to take advantage of Huang Tong and the other great sages, so he simply manipulated space so that Huang Tong and the other great sages did not even have a chance to use their superpowers. Even so, it was impossible for Huang Tong and the others to be captured. Huang Tong opened his mouth, and the 100 Beasts flag flew out. The Thunderbolt Immortal and the others also activated their superpowers and tried their best to resist. However, the spatial laws of the original realm were so strange. Huang Tong's 100 Beasts flag waved and first urged a demonic beast to fly out. The place where the demonic beast landed also turned into a stream of light. It looked like it was obviously in 2 different spaces from the three-legged golden crow. How could it launch an effective attack? Even the Thunderbolt Immortal's Thunderbolt Giant Palm also missed. He clearly sensed that it was a huge palm that was several acres in size, but when it landed in the original realm, it turned into a distorted light shadow. Damn it! Seeing that some of the golden avatar's light shadow had already fallen into the three-legged golden crow's mouth, Xiaohua cursed angrily and shouted in his heart, "Fellow Taoists, activate the Thunder Escape technique. We can only use the power of speed to resist the spatial laws." Alright. When the doppelgangers heard this, they agreed and activated their bodies at the same time. Countless lightning shadows appeared like distorted fireworks everywhere. Layers of shadows appeared from Xiaohua and the other doppelgangers. These shadows were like cicadas shedding their shells, peeling off layer by layer and falling into the three-legged golden crow's mouth, but the real doppelgangers gradually solidified and filled up. Damn it, what kind of escape technique is this? How can it be so powerful? The three-legged golden crow was angry. He really could not understand how these foreign great sages could have such powerful means. Just as the three-legged golden crow was thinking about how to deal with it, Xiaohua, whose golden avatar was completely standing in the shattered space, revealed a mocking smile. He raised his hand and took out the sword gourd. Seeing Xiaohua take out the sword gourd, the three-legged golden crow was shocked. After all, he had already seen the power of the killing spirit vital light. If he was not afraid of the killing spirit vital light, he would have already taken action. Why wait until now? Quick! As Xiaohua chanted the incantation, he raised his hand and pointed at the sword gourd. On the sword gourd, the black and white thing with a nose and eyes appeared. Shua! When the black and white thing opened its eyes, the black and white light curtain instantly rushed out of the sword gourd, as if to cover the entire rushing current valley. 10 fierce killing spirit vital light that could cover the world suddenly flew out and pounced on the 10 three-legged golden crows. Wherever the black and white light passed, everything was destroyed. Whether it was the dazzling 10-colored brilliance or the melting space, nothing could stop it. In the blink of an eye, it fell on the heads of the three-legged golden crows. Shwa shwa shwa. In this critical moment, there was a sound like flowing water. 2 leaves flew out from the golden fusang tree and the silver fusang tree, and instantly fell on the heads of the 10 three-legged golden crows. The killing spirit vital light fell on the gold and silver leaves. Pu. Muffled sounds continued. The leaves were destroyed by the killing spirit vital light, but without waiting for the killing spirit vital light to fall half an inch, more leaves grew out, one stacked on top of another, as if there was no end to them. Ha! The three-legged golden crow laughed, and the golden light in his mouth shone brightly. Xiaohua, Huang Tong, give me your lives. It's just bullying with numbers, who doesn't know how to do it? Xiaohua saw that he could not escape, and coldly smiled. He raised his hand and said, I'll let you see what it means to bully with numbers. Xiaohua did not believe that Huang Tong's 100-beast flag would not work, and his 100 or so scattered nascent souls would be defeated. However, before Xiaohua could release the 100 or so ninth tribulation scattered nascent souls from his lower dantian, he heard the celestial being, who had his back to Xiaohua, laugh loudly. Fellow Taoist, there's no need to use a butcher's knife to kill a chicken. Why don't you let me test my skills? The celestial being opened his mouth. Buzz buzz. A huge roar broke through the air, and the 10,000 extinguishing heavenly dipper tumbled out of the celestial being's body. Who? An aura several times fiercer than the killing spirit vital light rushed out from the 10,000 extinguishing heavenly dipper, and instantly flooded the surrounding space. Ah! This is... The three-legged golden crow felt an inexplicable fierceness, and was so shocked that he even forgot to spit out the golden light in his mouth. His gaze fell on the 10,000 extinguishing heavenly dipper, and he actually seemed to have lost his soul. Shua! The 10,000 extinguishing heavenly dipper was different from Xiaohua's other magic artifacts. As the celestial being raised his hand and pointed, a black light came out from it. This black light crossed the original realm, and not only blocked the 10-colored light of the 10 three-legged colorful crows, but also the gold and silver light of the 2 fusang trees. 10,000 extinguishing heavenly dipper. This is the 10,000 extinguishing heavenly dipper. How do you have the celestial race's celestial artifact? The three-legged golden crow came to his senses and cried out in disbelief. His trembling body seemed to be extremely afraid of the 10,000 extinguishing heavenly dipper. Ha, I understand now. The celestial being laughed loudly. So you are from the celestial race. I don't need to use any shooting sun arrows to kill you. Since that's the case, then hand over your life. Woo! As the celestial being raised his hand and pointed, the 10,000 extinguishing heavenly dipper flew toward the three-legged golden crow. Seeing that the 10,000 extinguishing heavenly dipper passed by, a huge suction force sucked in all the light nearby. The three-legged golden crow did not dare to be negligent. He spread his wings and flew toward the Fusang tree, and the void near the 10,000 extinguishing heavenly dipper collapsed at the same time. Unfortunately, not only did the collapsed void not stop the 10,000 extinguishing heavenly dipper, it even turned into larger fragments under the suction force of the 10,000 extinguishing heavenly dipper. The black light of the 10,000 extinguishing heavenly dipper caught up with the three-legged golden crow several times faster than the light within the fragments. Caw! The moment the black light touched the three-legged golden crow, the flame-like golden light dyed the three-legged golden crow's entire body faster than the ink in the pool. The three-legged golden crow could not help but cry out in alarm. Swoosh! The 10,000 extinguishing heavenly dipper ignored space within the black light and landed on the three-legged golden crow's head in an instant, covering the three-legged golden crow. Pooh! The three-legged golden crow was shocked. He opened his mouth and a blood-red golden light rushed out, wanting to hit the 10,000 extinguishing heavenly dipper. Unfortunately, the light only lifted the 10,000 extinguishing heavenly dipper by half a foot before it mysteriously disappeared within the black light. The 10,000 extinguishing heavenly dipper fell by more than 10 feet. Damn it! Damn it! The three-legged golden crow roared furiously 3 times. A golden light burst out from his body, and in just a moment, he grew to over 10,000 feet tall. At the same time, a golden feather from his tail pierced through the air and pierced straight toward the Celestial's forehead. Fellow Taoist Yun. Seeing the feather approaching, the Celestial cried out in alarm, "Come and save me." Reverend Yun was taken aback. Without hesitation, he opened his mouth and unleashed a dragon breath that transformed into a dragon avatar and blocked in front of the feather. Boom! When the feather pierced into the dragon avatar, it immediately turned golden, then exploded with a loud boom, leaving not even a single trace of dragon mark on it. Damn it! Taoist Yun's heart trembled. Obviously, he was wounded by the hidden attack in the feather. Fellow Taoist, can you still hold on? When Xiaohua saw that the Celestial was only controlling the 10,000 extinguishing heavenly dipper to chase after the three-legged golden crow, while the other three-legged colorful crows had taken the opportunity to fly into the Fuso tree, he understood that the Celestial did not have the strength to spare to kill the other three-legged colorful crows at the same time. Chapter 48-41. I may not be able to fully control the 10,000 extinguishing heavenly dipper, but it won't be a problem to kill him. The Celestial laughed. However, after activating the 10,000 extinguishing heavenly dipper, I won't be able to activate it again for many years. That's good. Xiaohua heaved a sigh of relief and said coldly, "Let's kill him first." Okay. The Celestial's spirit was shaken. He opened his mouth again, and the tricolored true light fell into the 10,000 extinguishing heavenly dipper. Boom boom boom. The 10,000 extinguishing heavenly dipper shook violently and suddenly expanded. The black light once again enveloped the huge three-legged golden crow. Caw. At this time, the three-legged golden crow's cry actually carried a kind of sorrow. Paw. Without waiting for the three-legged golden crow's cry to land, the Celestial clapped his hands. Boom! Like thunder, but without the majesty of thunder, like falling rain, but 100 times colder than falling rain, a mournful black light fell from the 10,000 extinguishing heavenly dipper and brushed onto the three-legged golden crow's body. This black light was extremely strange. It ignored space, ignored the golden light of the three-legged golden crow, ignored the soaring flames, and even ignored the three-legged golden crow's elemental spirit body born from the grand sun primordial fire and instantly fell into it. It was even colder than the wind blowing out a candle. Where the black light fell, more than half of the golden light of the three-legged golden crow was immediately annihilated, and more than half of the previously fierce flames were also extinguished. The three-legged golden crow could no longer maintain its huge body. As the black light brushed past, it suddenly shrank to about 10,000 feet. Oh my! Not to mention Xiaohua, even the Celestial himself was shocked. He exclaimed, "How is this 10,000 extinguishing heavenly dipper so powerful?" With just a brush, it reduced the so-called profound supreme sage's strength by 30%. If it's brushed a few times, won't this guy become a bald crow? Xiaohua smiled and asked in his heart, that's true, but how many times can you brush it? The celestial smacked his lips and said, brushing it 2 more times. Shouldn't be a problem, right? The celestial being's words were filled with helplessness and unwillingness. Xiaohua understood that in the original realm, the Yunxian Supreme Sage was the original realm, and the original realm was the Yunxian Supreme Sage. It was already good that the celestial being could use the heavenly dipper to suppress him. If he really wanted to kill the Yunxian Supreme Sage, it would be difficult. Unless the heavenly man and the Suo Xian Grand Sage planned to perish together. I'm not afraid. Xiaohua smiled coldly. Apart from fellow Taoist, there's still fellow Taoist Wu. Although he doesn't have any sun shooting arrows, he can still kill him with the shaman race's divine abilities. In the ancient times, there was a great sorcerer who destroyed the 9 suns with an arrow. Today, I shall kill the golden crow with my bare hands. Taoist sorcerer said proudly. Just as Xiaohua and the celestial being were discussing how to kill the 3-legged golden crow and escape from the original realm, there was a loud bang. The Fusang tree, which had originally turned into a quiet silver tree under the bright light of the golden Fusang tree, suddenly emitted a brilliant silver light. This silver light was like a tide that washed over the space of the original realm, but the silver light was so gentle that it was not glaring or dazzling. Even the black light of the heavenly dipper showed signs of fading under this silver light. Swift Cherry Grand Sage. Xiaohua's heart skipped a beat, and he immediately knew who had appeared. His body flashed, and he brought Huang Tong and the rest to where the silver Fusang tree and the golden Fusang tree were separated. Each of them cast their skills, be it lightning, wind, or soul power, they all appeared and forcefully blocked the silver light. Sigh. A sorrowful sigh sounded from the silver Fuso tree. The Swift Cherry Grand Sage's silver demonic body appeared. Beside her, the colorful Phoenix King and Holy Mother Peacock appeared with smiles on their faces. However, when the colorful Phoenix King and Divine Mother Peacock saw the situation in front of them, the smiles on their faces froze. Divine Mother Peacock exclaimed, Grand Sage, this. What's going on? At the same time, Divine Mother Peacock flapped her wings and tried to fly out of the Fusang tree. Unfortunately, the silver light was like a layer of shackles that bound Divine Mother Peacock and the colorful Phoenix King tightly. No matter what, Divine Mother Peacock could not fly out of the branches of the Fusang tree. The Swift Cherry Grand Sage's expression was very complicated. He looked at Xiaohua, Huang Tong, and the others, and then at the celestial being who controlled the heavenly dipper. Finally, his gaze fell on the profound Grand Sage, who was struggling under the black light of the heavenly dipper and had shrunk by 30%. He said, Xiao Sheng. Xiao Sheng, Xiao Sheng. Divine Mother Peacock also shouted, can you? Instead, it was the colorful Phoenix King who opened her mouth to say something. However, when she saw Xiaohua and the other 9 sages, and even a demon lord, how could she not know what was going on? Therefore, she did not even say a word and just watched quietly. The Swift Cherry Grand Sage did the same. He only called out, Xiao Sheng, and did not speak again. Clearly, he did not know how to persuade him. Xiaohua looked coldly at the Swift Cherry Grand Sage and said, Swift Cherry Grand Sage, I believe. You know what happened here. Previously, I did not understand why the profound Grand Sage said so much to me. So he was not wasting his breath for no reason. He wanted the Swift Cherry Grand Sage to listen to him. He wanted to persuade the Swift Cherry Grand Sage, right? That's right. The Swift Cherry Grand Sage did not deny it. He nodded and said, because when it comes to dealing with Xiao Sheng, Phoenix Sage, and the other great sages, I do not agree with the profound Grand Sage. Therefore, the Swift Cherry Grand Sage went to welcome the colorful Phoenix King and Divine Mother Peacock and reminisced with them. Huang Tong continued, and when the great sage Tuo Xian kills us, you can tell them the truth. I'm sure they won't say much. They'll just wave goodbye to you and continue to be their great sage. Sigh. The swift cherry grand sage sighed and did not answer. Clap. At this moment, the celestial being became impatient. He clapped his hands and another layer of black light fell from the great destructive celestial dipper. Whoosh. Without any suspense, the profound grand sage's golden light was cut down again. The demon beast became a few 100 feet tall. Great sage, please forgive us. The other demon spirits, even the swift cherry grand sage, were too embarrassed to speak. Only Divine Mother Peacock panicked and screamed, "Please don't kill the profound grand sage, please don't." The celestial being laughed coldly and asked, "Why not? Just because he is a great sage of the original demon realm? Just because he is a spirit formed from the essence of the ancient sun? Great sage, you don't know." Divine Mother Peacock hurriedly replied, "The profound grand sage was formed from the sun spirit of the 10,000 demon realm. His existence is closely related to the sun of the 10,000 demon realm. If he is killed, the 10,000 demon realm may lose a son." "How is that possible?" Xiaohua was disdainful. He waved his hand and said, "The sun, the moon, and the stars are objects of the heavenly Tao. They have long become the laws of a realm. How can such a supreme law be formed into a demon spirit?" At this point, Xiaohua suddenly realized something. He glanced at the swift cherry grand sage and asked meaningfully, "Divine Mother Peacock, why didn't you mention this in the Peacock Palace? Did you just find out?" Sigh. Divine Mother Peacock nodded and sighed. "Indeed. I just rushed over to ask about the origin of the original realm. The swift cherry grand sage. Only then did I mention it. The swift cherry grand sage is so calculative." Xiaohua smiled and said, "He has already made countless preparations." The swift cherry grand sage's gaze was extremely complicated. He glanced at Xiaohua and did not explain. Then, the two seemingly obedient ears on the top of his head waved. Swoosh swoosh. Two soft sounds were heard. On the silver fuso tree under the swift cherry grand sage's feet, 2 layers of silver light curtains suddenly rolled up and rushed toward Xiaohua and the others. At the same time, on the golden fuso tree, 2 layers of golden light curtains rolled up. The gold and silver were like the yin and yang of the spirit-slaying vital light. Instantly, the space where Xiaohua and the others were was completely covered. A murderous aura came from the light curtains. Even the black light of the 10,000 extinguishing celestial dipper was blocked by these 4 layers of light curtains. Xiaohua was naturally prepared for the swift cherry grand sage's attack. However, he did not expect the swift cherry grand sage to use the foundation of the original realm, the fuso tree. Moreover, this attack was a fatal one. Damn it! Xiaohua cursed in his heart. He immediately slammed his palm on the top of his head, preparing to release more than 109th tribulation scattered nascent soul cultivators to fight the swift cherry grand sage to the death. However, just before 40% of the light curtains closed, the swift cherry grand sage's voice was heard again. Sigh. Xiao Sheng, don't be anxious. I just want to show you the methods of the original realm. I have no special ill intentions. Following the swift cherry grand sage's voice, the gold and silver curtains rolled up again and fell into their respective fuso trees. The entire space was once again covered by black and silver light. Xiaohua put his hand down and pinched his chin, watching the swift cherry grand sage quietly decompose. Indeed, after a while, the swift cherry grand sage finally spoke. Xiao Sheng. What Xian Xian said earlier was for me to hear, but in fact, it was also what I wanted Xiao Sheng and the other sages to know. After all, the 10,000 demon realm is the 10,000 demon realm of the demon spirit realm, not the 10,000 demon realm of the human clan. If the human clan comes to the 10,000 demon realm, they will definitely disrupt the order of the 10,000 demon realm. Therefore, both Xian Xian and I have concerns about this. However, Xian Xian wants to take this opportunity to kill all of you. As for me, I remember what the Peacock Divine Mother said. I don't want to cause too much trouble, so I didn't agree. Although I didn't agree, I had no reason to stop Xian. That was why I lured the Radiant Phoenix King and the Peacock Divine Mother into the mulberry tree. The Fuso tree is called Fuso, but it is actually the Fuso tree and the mulberry tree. These two trees are the foundation of the original realm. At the same time, they are the source that gave birth to Xian Supreme Sage and me. Under my feet is the mulberry tree of the Valley of Rushing Current. Under Xian Supreme Sage's feet is the Fuso tree of the Valley of Rushing Current. When the Fuso tree and the mulberry tree close, everything in the Valley of Rushing Current will be destroyed. There will be no accidents. Xian tried to persuade me earlier to use the power of closing. Moreover, to be honest with Xiao Sheng and the other sages, Xian saw the dragon clan in the Gale Abyss and knew that Xiao Sheng must have brought the human clan over. After we returned, we sent the demon clan to the spiritual realm and the three wastelands to search for them. The Swift Cherry Grand Sage explained unhurriedly. If it was just the dragon clan, we might be able to tolerate it. However, the human clan. Absolutely not. Chapter 48-42. As for Xian's life. The Rapid Cherry Supreme Sage glanced at the shrunken Xian Supreme Sage and said, "In the 10,000 demon realm, in the Valley of Tang, no one can kill Xian, not even the Great Extinguishing Celestial Dipper. The Great Extinguishing Celestial Dipper can only kill the three-legged golden crow form in the vast sun of the 10,000 demon realm. However, if Xian is destroyed now, the vast sun of the 10,000 demon realm will lose its color. The 10,000 demon realm will experience a great change in the weather and fall into an unpredictable catastrophe. 100,000 years or even 1,000,000 years later, when the purple sun soul is formed, another purple sun will rise in the sky of the 10,000 demon realm and another Xian Supreme Sage will appear. When that happens, the catastrophe of Xiao Sheng killing Xian will disappear." Damn it! Xiao Hua's expression changed. He looked at the three-legged golden crow and then at the jade rabbit and cursed, "Rapid Cherry Supreme Sage, are you threatening me?" "It's not a threat." The Rapid Cherry Supreme Sage's expression did not change. "I'm just telling you the reason and the consequences. I believe the Moon God's messenger will make a wise decision." Moon God's messenger? The Peacock Divine Mother and the Colored Phoenix King were stunned. They looked at Xiao Hua and then at the Rapid Cherry Supreme Sage in confusion. Unfortunately, neither Xiao Hua nor the Rapid Cherry Supreme Sage explained. They only looked at each other quietly as if they were considering each other's bottom line. After an entire incense stick's worth of time, Xiao Hua finally opened his mouth and said, "You seem to be very certain that I will stop." "That's right." The Fast Cherry Grand Sage nodded. A warrior who has shouldered the burden of the lives of billions of creatures in a realm is not only capable of facing any danger head-on, but also capable of judging other people by their own standards. Xiao Hua shook his head. "Rapid Cherry Supreme Sage, you think too highly of me. I've already explained to Xian Supreme Sage that I'm a human. I don't care about the lives of demons. You can ignore it, but what about Phoenix Sage and Phoenix Sage?" The Rapid Cherry Supreme Sage turned to Feng Wu and Huang Tong and asked, "There must be demons from the 3 continents in the 10,000 demon realm, right? If Grand Sage Nua Xian is killed, these demons will also be wiped out by the catastrophe of the 10,000 demons realm. What's the point of bringing them here?" Speaking up to this point, the Swift Cherry Grand Sage's tone became even more serious as he looked at Xiao Hua and said, "The human race's physical body is even worse than the demon race's. In a lifetime of calamity, the human race will perish in less than 3 days. Xiao Sheng, you worked so hard to bring the human clan to the 10,000 demon realm, is this what you want? If the demon spirits of the 10,000 demon realm found them, wouldn't they also perish?" Xiao Hua knew that the Swift Cherry Grand Sage wanted to bargain, so he decided to give the Swift Cherry Grand Sage a way out. Of course, the Swift Cherry Grand Sage was also waiting for this opportunity. Without any hesitation, she said, the news of the human race appearing in the 10,000 demon realm is only known to me and Ma Yingxian. Furthermore, I can also ask the demon spirits to return. Just this alone is not enough to dispel this Xiao's doubts. Xiaohua smiled and said, if the swift cherry grand sage promises, oh, it must also be the profound grand sage's promise that the human race, the demon race, and even the dragon race can flourish in the 10,000 demon realm, only then will I be willing to consider. No problem. The swift cherry grand sage replied without hesitation, I swear on the moon god's life that I will allow Xiao Sheng, Phoenix Sage, and all the other saints to bring the human race and the demon race into the 10,000 demon realm to flourish. Hiss. Xiaohua sucked in a breath of cold air. He only wanted the swift cherry grand sage to promise, he did not force her to swear on the moon god's name. He knew very well how shameful it was to be forced to swear on the moon god's name. Swift cherry grand sage. Xiaohua hurriedly called out, why do you have to do this? Sigh, it's nothing much. The swift cherry grand sage sighed, when Ma Yingxian was discussing with me earlier, I should have been firm in my words. The survival of the human race is the survival of the human race, and the great saints of the human race are the great saints of the human race. My attitude back then was not firm enough, and now I can only ask for humiliation. I can't blame anyone else. Xiaohua was speechless. At this point, the swift cherry grand sage's attitude left him with no choice but to let go. Ma Yingxian grand sage. Xiaohua looked at the Ma Yingxian grand sage and asked, I also hope to have a promise from the great saint. The killing intent of the 10,000 extinguishing heavenly dipper was too ferocious, and the Ma Yingxian grand sage's demon body was already trembling. Hearing Xiaohua's words, the Ma Yingxian grand sage did not hesitate and said, I promise to be like the swift cherry grand sage. I will not harass the human race, the demon race, the dragon race, etc. All right. Xiaohua nodded and looked at the heavenly Tao, fellow heavenly Tao, please stop. Before Xiaohua could finish, Huang Tong hurriedly stopped him, fellow Taoist Xiao, don't be anxious. Have you forgotten why we came to the original realm? It's very simple. If the Ma Yingxian grand sage does not know, then the swift cherry grand sage might not know either. Xiaohua stopped and looked at the swift cherry grand sage with a smile, if the swift cherry grand sage knows, you will definitely tell me, right? Unfortunately, Xiaohua's thinking was too simple. After the swift cherry grand sage heard this, she shook her head slightly and said, I know the space passage from the 10,000 demon realm to other realms. I also asked the Peacock Divine Mother just now and know the approximate direction of the so-called Dawn Rain continent. Similarly, I also know that there may be a space passage that leads to that direction, but I can't tell you. Ah. Xiaohua was ecstatic at first, but then he was stunned and asked curiously, WH. Why? It's very simple. The swift cherry grand sage seemed to have grasped Xiaohua's weakness. She did not hide anything from him and said, because that space passage that may exist is stable. It can go from the 10,000 demon realm to the Dawn Rain continent, and it can also go from the Dawn Rain continent to the 10,000 demon realm. If I tell Xiao Xing about this space passage, the human race will definitely come to the 10,000 demon realm through this space passage. The human race that Xiao Xing brought will already cause waves in the 10,000 demon realm. I cannot tolerate more humans invading the 10,000 demon realm. In the end, the swift cherry grand sage used the word, invading, to describe her concern for the human race. It was obvious that she was not at ease with the human race's character. I can swear. Xiaohua could understand the swift cherry grand sage's feelings. After all, there were several continents in his space. He would never send the world-destroying monster worm into them. Therefore, he hurriedly said, I will never reveal this space passage. I can trust Xiao Sheng, but I can't trust others. The swift cherry grand sage shook her head, Xiao Sheng will definitely reveal himself when he returns to the Dawn Rain continent. There will definitely be powerful people who will discover this space passage. isn't it just a space passage? Is it so troublesome? The celestial being could not help but roar, are you going to tell me or not? If you don't tell me, I'll kill this bald crow. Go ahead, great sage. The swift cherry grand sage did not say anything else. Her body flashed with moonlight and she slowly fell into the silver fusang tree. Her faint voice still lingered in the black light, one Shi Xian Supreme Sage cannot compare to the entire 10,000 demon realm. If you have a choice, I have a choice too. If you can bear it, I can bear it too. Damn it, damn it. The celestial being raised his hand in anger and was about to activate the 10,000 destruction celestial dipper. Sigh. Xiaohua sighed and looked extremely helpless. He waved his hand and said, don't do to others what you don't want done to you. Fellow celestial being, please stop. Sigh. Huang Tong also sighed. She looked left and right. Whether it was Feng Wu or Taoist witch, their faces were filled with deep helplessness. Even Demon Supremacy Shi's ferocious face had a thoughtful expression. We are on the saint rankings. With the strength of 9 people, we can dominate the 10,000 demon realm. Xiaohua's heart had already calmed down. She said lightly, even if it's the 2 great sages of the origin tribe, we can still kill them. Furthermore, we are responsible for the lives of billions of living beings in the 3 continents. We can also use it as justice and force the swift cherry grand sage to reveal the secret of the space passage. After all, we are not doing this for our own interests, but for the sake of all living beings. However, the demons of the 10,000 demon realm are all living beings in the eyes of the swift cherry grand sage. We cannot base our survival on the deaths of other living beings. Although, the reason that the swift cherry grand sage is saying is just a joke in our ears. That's right. Only by respecting each other can we survive. Huang Tong agreed. Don't do to others what you don't want done to you. Demon Supremacy Shi shook his head and said, I don't understand, I don't understand. Fellow Taoist Xiao, should we release him? The celestial being was also somewhat hesitant. Release him. Xiaohua roared angrily. However, that roar was filled with unwillingness, indignation, and unyielding. The celestial being opened his mouth. With a roar, the tricolored true light spat out and landed on the 10,000 extinguishing celestial dipper. The 10,000 extinguishing celestial dipper roared and slowly retracted the black light. Then, it fell back into the celestial being's stomach. The Xian Xian Grand Sage flew out of the 10,000 extinguishing celestial dipper. He looked rather pathetic. However, he was not in a hurry to return to the golden fusang tree. Instead, he lifted one of his legs and the golden light broke through the sky. The chaotic hot liquid formed a whirlpool and an oval-shaped space passage appeared in the middle of the whirlpool. The black light of the 10,000 extinguishing celestial dipper retracted. The colorful Phoenix King and Divine Mother Peacock also flew up from the silver fusang tree and landed beside Xiaohua and the rest. Divine Mother Peacock's face was filled with helplessness while the colorful Phoenix King was even more terrified. Thank you for your trouble. Xiaohua clasped his fists and said, I am eternally grateful. We don't dare. Divine Mother Peacock hurriedly returned the greeting. She flew up and said, Sage Xiao, please. Goodbye. Xiaohua clasped his fists towards the Xian Xian Grand Sage and glanced at the silver fusang tree. Lightning appeared around his body and he flew into the space passage. After Feng Wu and the rest had left, the colorful Phoenix King was the last to fly away. As he watched the hot liquid gradually shrink, the tense expression on the Xian Xian Grand Sage's face gradually disappeared. He raised his head and looked at the tranquil silver fusang tree. He also sighed and spread his wings and landed on the golden fusang tree. Boom! Countless rays of golden light appeared from the fusang tree and rushed into the demon body of the Xian Xian Grand Sage like a stream of water. The Xian Grand Sage had already been reduced to the level of a Star Master by the 10,000 extinguishing Celestial Dipper, and was slowly recovering. Chapter 48-43. Big Brother. Seeing that they had reached the end of the space tunnel, Demon Venerable Sure was still puzzled. Are we going to leave just like that? That little rabbit obviously knows the space tunnel to the Dawn Rain continent. Xiaohua's face was as calm as water. He did not speak. Although he had decided not to interrogate the Swift Cherry Grand Sage, he was still depressed. After all, the Swift Cherry Grand Sage had exaggerated the danger of the human race entering the 10,000 demon realm. This made him feel very uncomfortable, especially since he had already spent dozens of years in the 10,000 demon realm. He only needed to use force to obtain the tunnel to the Dawn Rain continent. If he lost this opportunity, he would not know where to start and how long it would take to reach the Dawn Rain continent. However, Xiaohua wasn't willing to do this little bit of force, this little bit of going beyond his principles. Obtaining the information that he wanted by hook or by crook would definitely save the billions of lives on the 3 continents. It seemed like this righteousness was indeed greater than the righteousness that the Swift Cherry Grand Sage was obsessed with. However, when he thought about how the Swift Cherry Grand Sage was willing to throw away the face of a great sage and swear in front of him, Xiaohua could not underestimate this righteousness. That stubbornness in anyone's heart wasn't any lighter than the stubbornness of other people, and it wasn't any lighter than the stubbornness of a country or a world. If they couldn't even respect this stubbornness, Xiaohua felt that it wouldn't matter if the human race was destroyed. What do you know? Huang Tong had experienced a lot. He understood the contradiction in Xiaohua's heart very well. He scolded, no matter how Daoist Xiao decides, he has his reasons. Big brothers, if you don't want to be the bad guy, then let me be the bad guy. Demon Venerable Sure said solemnly. Anyway, I am a demon. I have no reputation to consider. Sigh, you still don't understand. Xiaohua sighed. Compared to the life and death of billions of lives in the 3 continents, this Xiao's reputation is nothing. However, if I force a great saint from another world to make a choice that goes against her will, this Xiao feels that it is not appropriate. Daoist Xiao will never be a hero. Feng Wu also shook his head. If Grand Mist Ancestor was here, there would not be such trouble. Yes, he is him, I am me, and you will also be you in the future. Xiaohua let out a long sigh. I feel that the Swift Cherry Grand Sage's words are somewhat reasonable, so I made this choice. You might not understand, but this is who I am. Whoosh. Light and shadow flashed in front of Xiaohua and the others' eyes. In the blink of an eye, they found themselves in the skies of the Origin race. Holy Mother Peacock, who was in the lead, had already spread her wings and stopped in the distance. She was looking up at the sky. It was noon, and the sun was shining brightly. However, the sun in the sky had actually shrunk by 30%. The golden radiance that scattered over the earth had also weakened by more than 50%. A slightly cold feeling involuntarily emerged from the bottom of Xiaohua's heart. Many thanks for Xiao Xing's mercy. Behind Xiaohua, the colorful Phoenix King said in a low voice. Sigh. Xiaohua released his divine thoughts and sensed the power of the stars and moon in the nearby space. He sighed and said, the mistake has been made. Fortunately, the sun is slowly recovering. Perhaps in less than 1,000 years, the 10,000 demon realm will return to its original state. The colorful Phoenix King nodded and comforted him. You can't blame Xiao Xing for this. After Holy Mother Peacock and I entered, we met the Swift Cherry Grand Sage. We thought that Xiao Sheng and the others would be personally received by the Profound Two Supreme Sage, but we did not expect things to turn out this way. Thank you for your trouble on this trip to the Origin Realm. Xiaohua's face did not show any joy. He saluted the colorful Phoenix King and Holy Mother Peacock and said, this time, not only did I offend the Profound Two Supreme Sage, but I also implicated the two of you. If you have any errands in the future, as long as I can help, please do not hesitate to ask. With Xiaohua's promise, the colorful Phoenix King was overjoyed. This was a great sage who was even more powerful than the profound two supreme sage. She concealed the smile in her heart and said, "It would be best if we could help Xiaosheng. However, the problem is that Holy Mother Peacock and I do not know the passageway to the Dawn Rain continent. We can't help at all." Xiaohua's heart skipped a beat. He smiled and said, "Since we have already said this, I also have something to entrust you with." As soon as Xiaohua said this, the colorful Phoenix King immediately understood. She hurriedly smiled and said, "Don't worry, Saint Xiao. Not to mention Saint Xiao, even if Saint Phoenix and Saint Phoenix were here, I would definitely take care of the human race, demon race, and dragon race in the 3 continents." "That's good." Xiaohua saluted and said, "I will take my leave. I hope that I will not see the colorful Phoenix King again. Goodbye, goodbye. I also hope that Xiaosheng, Phoenix Sage, and the other great sages can successfully find the spatial passageway to the Dawn Rain continent." After the colorful Phoenix King said this, she flapped her wings and flew into the sky to wait for Holy Mother Peacock. After Holy Mother Peacock expressed her gratitude, she did not speak. When the colorful Phoenix King flew away, she stepped forward and said, "Xiaosheng, Namo Maitreya Buddha, I am powerless. Please forgive me. It's okay." Xiaohua forced a smile and said, "Holy Mother Peacock has already done too much for us. Furthermore, in the original realm today, Holy Mother Peacock was too biased towards us. We must be wary of the profound two supreme sage in the future. This is nothing." Holy Mother Peacock nodded and said, "After today's events, the colorful Phoenix King will definitely follow me. Furthermore, the colorful Phoenix King has a very good relationship with the Swift Cherry Supreme Sage. The Phoenix Holy World may not be afraid of the profound two supreme sage." "That's good." Xiaohua waved his hand and said, "Holy Mother Peacock, return to the Peacock Palace with the colorful Phoenix King as soon as possible." "Where do you plan to go now, Xiaosheng?" Holy Mother Peacock could not help but ask. "The Origin Cave." Xiaohua answered without hesitation that the Origin Cave was generally not marked in the 10,000 demon realms boundary sense. This was because if one did not have the strength of an Earth rank expert, one would definitely not approach it. And if one did not have the strength of an Earth rank expert, one would definitely not go deep. Of course, there was no void black path from the Origin tribe to the Origin Cave. After Xiaohua asked about the location of the Origin Cave, he used the Origin tribe's spatial portal to get close to the Origin Cave. Then, he activated his spatial escape technique and arrived at the edge of the Origin Cave. Before he could fly out of the void, an extremely messy, storm-like spatial turbulence blew from all over the void. This spatial turbulence was the power of heaven and earth. Even with Xiaohua and Huang Tong's abilities, they did not dare to resist it. They could only borrow the momentum to escape from the void. Xiaohua's figure had just appeared when a gust of wind blew. Waves of wind blades that were sharper than flying swords slashed at Xiaohua's body. What was special was that there were actually some spatial cracks mixed within these wind blades. The wind blades might not be able to pose a threat to Xiaohua's golden body, but when these spatial cracks landed on Xiaohua's golden body, not only did they show some slight cracks, but they also gave rise to a piercing pain. Boom! Huang Tong flapped her wings and swept away the gust of wind. Then, she looked at the surging wind between heaven and earth and laughed, "This time, we will not be wrong." "Yes." Xiaohua released his divine sense and looked for a moment. He nodded and said, "The surrounding is filled with chaotic spatial laws. The void cannot be formed. If this is not the Origin Cave, where is it?" Huang Tong's phoenix eyes flashed with golden light. She looked in a different direction from Xiaohua. Then, she said, "But if it is like what Divine Mother Peacock said, this Origin Cave is almost boundless. It is the edge of the 10,000 demon realms boundary. How can we find the spatial passage to the Dawn Rain continent?" The area that colorful Phoenix King knows is definitely not the origin cave. The area that Divine Mother Peacock knows is definitely not the origin cave. We have already ruled out many areas. We can only search in the remaining areas. Xiaohua's mouth was bitter. After he finished speaking, he gritted his teeth and added, if in the last 10 years we still can't find it, then we can only return to the origin realm. Sigh. Huang Tong hesitated for a moment and did not say the words, if you knew it would be like this, why did you do it in the first place? However, she also knew that even if she did not say it, Xiaohua would definitely understand. Let's go. There is always some hope. Xiaohua did not say anything. He waved his hand and looked around. Then, he stepped in a direction. At this time, they had already reached the edge of the origin cave. The spatial laws began to become chaotic. Not only could they not use the spatial escape technique casually, but even ordinary spatial escape techniques were greatly affected. Moreover, as Xiaohua and Huang Tong went deeper, countless spatial vortexes were born in the origin cave. A strong suction and repulsive force emerged from these spatial vortexes. The chaotic forces intertwined in the origin cave. The already thin heaven and earth origin chi was torn apart. Even the most abundant power of the stars and moon in the 10,000 demon realm was also crushed. In the face of such power of heaven and earth, even someone as strong as Huang Tong could not help but feel dizzy. It was difficult to find the right direction in this chaotic origin cave. However, it just so happened that Xiaohua, who had no sense of direction, seemed to be in the void when he arrived at this place. He ignored the chaos around him. Although he couldn't avoid the spatial vortexes that occasionally appeared, he was very clear about where he was and which direction he should go. After flying for a while, the entire origin cave was already somewhat chaotic. The spatial vortexes were no longer just circular. Square, oval, and quadrangular shapes were all revealed. There were even many spatial vortexes that were connected together. They were shaped like mountain ranges. It looked extremely spectacular. Who is it? Xiaohua was flying when he suddenly stopped. His gaze fell on a string of spatial vortexes that looked like a tree. He asked coldly. Ga. Huang Tong let out a clear cry. She spread her wings and flew over a small spatial vortex. Her demon body landed on one end of the spatial vortex. When she saw the demon spirit there, Huang Tong was obviously stunned. She asked curiously, oh? Why is it you? Hee, why can't it be this saint? As Huang Tong's voice fell, Fire Phoenix King's figure spread out. She flew out from the spatial vortex and looked at Huang Tong and Xiaohua with a smile. Chapter 48-44. Fire Phoenix King. Why are you here? Xiaohua was also surprised. He looked at Fire Phoenix King in confusion. Fire Phoenix King smiled and said, I'm here to tell Xiao Sheng and Huang Sheng about the space passage in the Dawn Rain continent. Hearing Fire Phoenix King's words, Xiaohua really felt like he was at the end of the road. He almost couldn't believe his ears and asked, what? You know about the space passage to the Dawn Rain continent? Yes, why didn't you say so earlier? Huang Tong was also confused. Although the Fire Phoenix King had already appeared, she still looked hesitant. She replied, to be honest with Xiao Sheng and Huang Sheng, I don't know if this passageway is located in the Dawn Rain continent. However, from how much the Swift Cherry Supreme Sage values it, it should be related to the Dawn Rain continent. The Dawn Rain continent? Xiaohua took a deep breath. He believed Fire Phoenix King's words a little more. However, he still asked, what do you mean? Actually. Fire Phoenix King smiled and said, when Xiao Xing showed off his power in the Gale Abyss, I was not in the spiritual realm. I was entrusted by the Dawn Rain continent I came to the Origin Cave to find out some secrets that only she knew about. Of course, she did not tell me what the secrets were, and I did not intend to ask. However, when I heard that Xiao Sheng and Huang Sheng wanted to go to the Dawn Rain continent, I suddenly realized that this place is related to the Dawn Rain continent. It must be because Xiao Sheng and the others broke through the realm and attracted the Dawn Rain continent's attention. She sent me here to take a look. I understand. Xiaohua cupped his hands and said, that's why Fire Phoenix King asked me to go to the Origin Realm to ask the Dawn Rain continent. I thank you. Sigh, it's a pity that the Dawn Rain continent did not agree, so I wanted to hide this from you. Fire Phoenix King sighed and said, however, after thinking about it, I felt that Xiao Sheng, Huang Sheng, and even the Phoenix King would rather fall into the strange realm than return to the Dawn Rain continent to save billions of lives. Such a feat. I had to help, so I waited here. Oh. Fire Phoenix King wants to do something the rushing cherry Grand Sage doesn't want to see. Huang Tong couldn't believe it. Hee, of course, I won't tell you the exact location of the passageway. Fire Phoenix King smiled. Also, I would like to ask Phoenix Saint a question. As long as Phoenix Saint can tell me, I will tell you where it is. No problem, Fire Phoenix King, please speak. Huang Tong agreed without hesitation. I heard that not long after Huang Sheng appeared in the 10,000 demon realm, the colorful Phoenix King sent thousands of Phoenix envoys to the Bobo wasteland to welcome Huang Sheng. I wonder how she knew about Huang Sheng's appearance. And why is she looking for Huang Sheng? Fire Phoenix King's question was not out of Huang Tong and Xiaohua's expectations. Huang Tong smiled and said, it's very simple. It's because colorful Phoenix King has seen the saint rankings and knows that we have appeared. As for how she knew we were in the wasteland, that's not something we can know. As for why she came to us, she didn't make it clear. She only asked if Huang Sheng and Feng Sheng knew her, if it was him, and who was him. As for why colorful Phoenix King is looking for him, she didn't say. Xiaohua didn't hesitate and directly answered, Phoenix Sage and Phoenix Sage naturally aren't that, so they were also confused. I was in a hurry to return to Dawn Rain continent, so I tactfully declined the invitation of the colored Phoenix King to head to Phoenix Shrine. So that's how it is. Xiaohua didn't understand who the colorful Phoenix King was referring to, but Fire Phoenix King understood immediately. Who is this him? Huang Tong asked curiously. How could Fire Phoenix King tell him? Just as she was about to refuse, she suddenly had a thought and smiled, Phoenix Envoy can ask, but after I tell you, Phoenix Saint has to promise me one thing. How could Huang Tong be fooled? He smiled and said, if that's the case, then forget it. Then I won't say more. Fire Phoenix King smiled and whispered. Xiaohua's heart moved and asked, can Fire Phoenix King tell me what Phoenix Saint has to promise? It's nothing. Fire Phoenix King hesitated for a moment and said, I just want to tell you about him, and ask you to kill him when you see him. Forget it, forget it. Hearing this, Xiaohua waved his hand and said, we don't even know who him is, so how can we kill him? Let's not talk about this. It's nothing. Fire Phoenix King smiled when she heard this. That him is most likely dead, or else colorful Phoenix King would have found him long ago. Damn it. Huang Tong scolded, it's up to you whether you want to say it or not, but why do you always swallow your words? This is a serious matter, and it's not something you and I can get involved in. Fire Phoenix King said hurriedly. Rather than knowing, it's better not to know. I didn't say it because I was thinking for Xiao Sheng and Phoenix Saint. We are going to the Dawn Rain continent anyway, so these secrets are nothing. Xiaohua said with a smile. It's just an old human with the surname One. Fire Phoenix King said anxiously. Even I don't know what he looks like. An old human with the surname One. Fire Phoenix King didn't mean it, but Xiaohua was interested. He immediately thought of the celestial emissary from the celestial realm. It seemed that in the 10,000 demon realm, other than this human, he had never seen any other human race. Could it be that this old human with the surname Wen had the same origin as the immortal emissary with the surname Shen? What surname Wen and Li? Huang Tong said impatiently. We have never seen them before. Fire Phoenix King, quickly tell us the location of that place. Okay. Fire Phoenix King got what she wanted to know, so she wasn't stingy. She raised her phoenix claw and pointed into the distance. That place is in that direction. As for where and how far it is, forgive me for not being able to say. I hope Xiao Sheng and Phoenix Saint are lucky enough. Goodbye. With that, Fire Phoenix King didn't stay any longer. She spread her wings and flew into the sky, disappearing in an instant. Damn it, what's the difference between that and not saying anything? Huang Tong scolded in a low voice. Fire Phoenix King's move, who knows how many regions fell into it. Xiaohua didn't answer. Instead, he looked at the place where Fire Phoenix King disappeared. He stroked his chin and said, it seems that Fire Phoenix King is very familiar with this space. He came here more than once, so he could escape into the void and avoid the attack of the void storm. Huang Tong understood what Xiaohua was saying and agreed. He has long wanted to use what we know to find out the secret of Fire Phoenix King. That's why he didn't go to the original realm but stayed nearby. He must have seen Divine Mother Peacock or Fire Phoenix King earlier and knew that we came to the origin cave. That's why he made this deal with us before we did. The problem is that he has a good impression of the Swift Cherry Grand Sage. How could he do something against the Swift Cherry Grand Sage? Xiaohua still didn't understand. Ha! Huang Tong laughed and pointed into the distance with her wings. With just a point, who knows where the so-called space passage is? And Fire Phoenix King said it clearly. He is just guessing and can't be taken seriously. Using this kind of meaningless information in exchange for Fire Phoenix King's secret, isn't that better than anything else? That old man surnamed Wen, is he also a celestial envoy in human form? Xiaohua frowned. Who knows? Huang Tong shrugged. This has nothing to do with us. Let's hurry and find the space passage. We have to find it wherever we go. Why don't we go in that direction? Xiaohua looked in the direction Fire Phoenix King pointed and smiled. Let's go. Although I don't believe Fire Phoenix King, I also believe that he can't set up any traps. Huang Tong flapped her wings and rushed into the gap between the whirlpools. Unfortunately, Huang Tong couldn't see Fire Phoenix King in the void. Otherwise, she would be able to see some clues from Fire Phoenix King's smile. The origin cave was really boundless. Even if there was no problem with the direction Fire Phoenix King pointed, as Xiaohua and Huang Tong went deeper, strange space whirlpools began to appear from time to time. The suction of these space whirlpools was just like what Peacock Mother said. Sometimes, it was so strong that it was impossible to resist. Xiaohua and Huang Tong were lucky enough to escape from danger several times. However, after flying in for more than 10 days, they didn't see the space passage Fire Phoenix King mentioned. Helpless, Xiaohua put Huang Tong back into his body. At the same time, he asked Feng Wu, Thunder Immortal, and the others to come out of the space and enter their bodies. If they encountered multiple space passages and couldn't avoid them, they would each enter one and leave it to fate. On this day, Xiaohua had just used the thunder escape technique to avoid a space crack that was tens of thousands of feet wide. Before he could catch his breath, he saw that the space crack was shrinking and suddenly, violently swelled. This swelling was different from the space crack. It was like boiling water that covered the entire origin cave. Oh no! Xiaohua was shocked. Because in this swelling, the strong power of the realm ruthlessly seeped out. It was like a guillotine that blocked him from all sides. However, before Xiaohua could use the thunder escape technique to escape into the gap of the realm power, he saw that within 10,000 miles of the space, 9 knot-like things appeared. Above these knots, 9 huge space cracks were entangled together like pythons. One end of these space cracks went straight into the depths of the origin cave. In the light, the silhouettes of some mountains and forests were revealed. This is a space vein. When Xiaohua saw this, he couldn't help but be overjoyed. However, this space vein seems to be tangled together. Could this be the space passage to the Dawn Rain continent? Fire Phoenix King didn't lie to us. Chapter 48-45. Just as Xiaohua had this thought, boom, 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 boom. 9 earth-shaking noises came from the 9 spatial nodes. The 81 spatial cracks opened up like awakened pythons. Each spatial tunnel was filled with irresistible spatial power, filled with the laws of the world, and rushed towards Xiaohua. 9 spatial tunnels. Xiaohua suddenly realized, damn, I understand now. This is an innate array formed by 9 spatial tunnels. That Fire Phoenix King stopped me, pointed me in the right direction, and calculated the right time to make me fall into this spatial array. And the 9 spatial tunnels formed by this spatial array definitely don't lead to the Dawn Rain continent. If it wasn't the fast cherry sage who asked Fire Phoenix King to frame me, then Fire Phoenix King acted on his own accord. Furthermore, Fire Phoenix King already knew that I was going to fall into a spatial tunnel with my clones, so he prepared these 9 spatial tunnels and wanted us to fall into one each. This Fire Phoenix King is despicable. How powerful were the 9 spatial tunnels formed? Even if Xiaohua was a 10th grade essence power, he couldn't resist at all. Needless to say, everything within several tens of thousands of li was confined by the power of this world. Xiaohua couldn't escape even if he wanted to. Moreover, this confinement also tightly bound Xiaohua's body. His previous plan of sending his clones to various worlds was simply for naught. The 9 spatial tunnels fell like 9 huge ribbons and hit the space above Xiaohua's head. The space instantly split into 9 huge tunnels, and each tunnel had the same strange laws of heaven and earth surging out, competing with the laws of heaven and earth of the 10,000 demon realm. Xiaohua's golden body floated into one of the tunnels like a fallen leaf. Although Xiaohua tried his best to activate his divine ability, the power of thunder on the surface of his body flickered like fireflies. However, this passive world breaking was several times more powerful than the active world breaking from the 3 continents to the 10,000 demon realm. Xiaohua felt like his golden body was being crushed by a huge millstone. Not to mention releasing his clones, he couldn't even move his fingers. Xiaohua had just seen the boundary barrier, the swaying light and shadow, and the endless power of the world behind him. It was like 2 fierce generals fighting fiercely. At the same time, the power of heaven and earth gathered in Xiaohua's body. The impact of the laws of the world was far greater than the power of space. Xiaohua knew that his body couldn't resist, so he simply released his mind and tried his best to use the different laws of space to resist the confrontation of the laws of the 2 mature boundaries. Seeing that the laws of the 10,000 demon realm and the laws of the unknown boundary were like 2 boundless oceans, and the laws of his own space were like a pool of water, far from being able to resist, Xiaohua's heart moved. He naturally thought of the primordial spirit entrustment technique he had obtained before. At this time, his body was difficult to maintain, and this primordial spirit entrustment technique was like a life-saving straw. Xiaohua didn't hesitate to silently recite the incantation, and quickly released his primordial spirit, cooperating with his mind to spread above the laws of heaven and earth of the 2 worlds. Every primordial spirit entrustment technique was to separate a little bit of the primordial spirit from the primordial spirit, just like the demon race's external incarnation technique. The primordial spirit was like a seed that was planted outside the body. Magic tools were the common choice of Dao sect cultivators. Similarly, the quality of the magic tool also determined the brilliance of the primordial spirit entrustment technique. The Grand Mist Ancestor had a great opportunity and entrusted his primordial spirit to the Yin-Yang Illustration Handbook. Because the Yin-Yang Illustration Handbook was an ancient magic tool, if the Grand Mist Ancestor succeeded in refining it, he would be able to obtain an extremely long lifespan and many more divine abilities. Similarly, there were more people who entrusted their primordial spirit to other things, such as holy beasts, array diagrams, innate restrictions, and so on. It was said that people with great opportunities and divine abilities were able to entrust their primordial spirit to the void and entrust it to faith. However, people like Xiaohua, who entrusted his primordial spirit to the laws of heaven and earth, were unheard of. After all, the so-called void was just a void. A piece of void was still a void, and the void of a world was still a void. When one's comprehension of the space laws reached a certain level, building a small nest in a familiar void like an ant wouldn't be considered shocking. As for faith, it was even easier. Of course, this ease was relative. Without the approval of faith, wanting to entrust a trace of one's primordial spirit to the faith was harder than ascending to the heavens. Looking at the laws of heaven and earth that Xiaohua wanted to entrust his primordial spirit to, these laws were born from heaven and earth, and were like a boundless sea. Every strand of law seemed insignificant, but every strand of law represented heaven and earth. It was almost impossible for a person's will to surpass heaven and earth. Moreover, what Xiaohua was facing now wasn't just a strand of heaven and earth's law. Every strand of heaven and earth's law was connected to the array of the entire world. How could a person's will be entrusted? However, Xiaohua's primordial spirit and mind had long been integrated, and Xiaohua's mind had long been integrated with the various immature worlds in the space. Fundamentally speaking, his primordial spirit had been branded with the world's law. Previously, he didn't have the opportunity, so he didn't know how to entrust his primordial spirit. Now, at the critical moment of life and death, he released his primordial spirit. That primordial spirit was really like a huge tentacle, slowly touching the chaotic world's law. Boom boom boom. Xiaohua looked a little anxious. Wherever his primordial spirit passed, whether it was the world's law of the 10,000 demon realm or the world's law of the unknown world, it was as if they had seen their mortal enemy. They all produced a counterattack stronger than thunder, destroying these primordial spirit tentacles in an instant. Xiaohua's mind was greatly shocked, and he suddenly escaped from the void. The unspeakable tearing pain on his body was born again. Xiaohua looked at his somewhat blurred body that had been torn apart, and also felt the crisis in his Naiwan Palace, Middle Dantian, and Lower Dantian. He didn't dare to be negligent, and hurriedly calmed his mind and carefully released his primordial spirit again. This time, Xiaohua learned his lesson. He didn't directly touch the world's law of the 10,000 demon realm and the unknown world, but first integrated with the few space laws on his body. The world's law of the 10,000 demon realm and the world's law of the unknown world collided with each other. Xiaohua's own space law was weak, and gradually entangled with these two kinds of laws in this collision. As the collision slowly grew stronger, Xiaohua's primordial spirit also slowly touched the two different worlds' laws. When Xiaohua was in danger, the entire space channel didn't stop forming, nor did it stop penetrating. Xiaohua's broken body drifted further and further in this stormy world's law battle. Every time he drifted a certain distance, his physical body would disappear a little. However, the strange thing is, just like when Xiaohua's physical body was destroyed by the immortal shuttle in human form, not a single drop of blood flowed out from Xiaohua's physical body. Even the many doppelgangers that existed in Xiaohua's body couldn't be seen. However, Xiaohua clearly felt that whether it was the Feng Wu that was separated from the demon body, the Huang Tong that was separated from the demon body's shadow, the immortal Yun that was separated from the meridians, or even the demon venerable murder that was formed by the blood shadow technique, they all existed in a strange form. They seemed to also be entrusted with the world's law, and also seemed to have become a part of the space. They seemed to have become an existence that even Xiaohua couldn't describe. After an unknown period of time, the pressure between the worlds was so great that Xiaohua's primordial spirit entrustment technique couldn't bear it. Xiaohua's primordial spirit entrustment technique had just reached the next level. Finally, Xiaohua couldn't bear it anymore, but he felt his vision turn black, and he lost consciousness again. Xiaohua was in a predicament. Outside the origin cave, Fire Phoenix King, who had been staying nearby, laughed. He looked at the layers of spatial hurricanes that were several times stronger than before, and he couldn't help but laugh secretly. Phoenix Sage, don't blame me. Who asked you to walk together with Fire Phoenix King? Of course, I didn't hide anything from you. The Swift Cherry Grand Sage asked me to come and explore that place. He wanted to see if you could break into the world from there. This 9 elements realm breaking is also formed naturally. It's the shock before the world passage is formed. As for where this space passage leads to, the Swift Cherry Grand Sage didn't say, and I don't know either. However, I do know that the 9 elements realm breaking force is not something that any great saint of the demon clan can withstand. Even the Xi Xian Grand Sage and the Swift Cherry Grand Sage can't. Therefore, even if you can avoid the shock of the world passage, you can't return to the 10,000 demon realm. Oh, even if you can return to the 10,000 demon realm, so what? Everything is your own choice. What does it have to do with me? I still have to find a chance to tell the Swift Cherry Grand Sage about this. Maybe. Thinking of this, a faint smile appeared on Fire Phoenix King's face. As the smile appeared, Fire Phoenix King spread her wings. Her demon body broke into the void and disappeared. Fire Phoenix King left. In another world far away, in a dense forest, the calm space suddenly began to swell. It was as if a huge flame was burning in the void. Then, the swell expanded uncontrollably. The ancient trees within 100 miles were all turned into powder by the swell. After half a cup of tea's worth of time, a strange sound came out from the drum. Poof! The oppressive sound of something breaking through the air rang out again. Xiaohua's broken body flew out from the void like a meteor streaking across the sky, crashing into a mountain range in the distance. Behind Xiaohua, a wave of remnant world passage like a scythe cut through the forest, the hills, and even the towering mountains. Wherever the world passage passed, everything was destroyed and annihilated. Boom boom boom. As for Xiaohua, he broke through more than 10 mountains. Finally, at the edge of the destruction of the world passage, he fell into an extremely hidden mountain range. At this time, the mountain range was shrouded in darkness. There was not a trace of starlight in the sky. The brilliance of Xiaohua breaking through the world passage was just a flash. The sound was earth-shattering, but this place was obviously a barren place. It did not attract much attention. When the world passage of the 10,000 demon realm was destroyed by the unknown world passage, everything was hidden in darkness. Darkness, other than darkness, there was only darkness. Gift it, and thank you for all your support. Chapter 48-46. Unknowingly, Xiaohua had woken up. He could no longer sense where his physical body was. All he could see was darkness. Xiaohua couldn't figure out if he had broken the boundary, or if he had already fallen, or if he was still floating in the void. In short, everything was dark. Other than his spirit being lively and his thoughts being agile, he couldn't sense anything else. Damn it! Xiaohua couldn't help but curse, why am I so embarrassed every time I break the boundary? I heard from that Xie Tong, who was only an Earth stage powerhouse, broke the boundaries so elegantly that there was no obstruction at all. Why am I so unlucky? Right, easily went from the 10,000 demon realm to the Dawn Rain continent. Xiaohua, a dignified great sage of the human race, actually had such twists and turns. Where is the justice? After complaining for a moment, Xiaohua hurriedly looked for Huang Tong and Feng Wu, where the space was. Unfortunately, this time was different from the last time when he went from the 3 continents to the 10,000 demon realm. Xiaohua himself didn't have any dizziness, but his spirit had long been exhausted. Since his physical body couldn't sense it, Huang Tong and Feng Wu's doppelgangers were also nowhere to be found. As for the space, Xiaohua vaguely sensed some aura, but his spirit couldn't touch it. The space seemed to be lost in the gap between the 10,000 demon realm and this unknown world. It was still floating in the vast power of the world. What was even more strange was that Xiaohua couldn't clearly perceive the location of his Naiwen Palace, Middle Dantian, and Lower Dantian. He also didn't know the situation of his nebula nascent soul and hundreds of scattered nascent souls. Damn it. Xiaohua cursed again. He was extremely speechless. If it's cultivation or seclusion, I'm not afraid of such a scene. I'll just treat it as falling into the heavens prison again. But this kind of floating in the void takes time. I can wait, but the 3 continents can't. A 10,000 demon realm took a few decades. I don't have much time left. Moreover, I still don't know where I am. The void? If so, how can I get out of the void? How can I find the space passage to the Dawn Rain continent? Thinking of this, Xiaohua once again felt hatred in his heart. Damned Fire Phoenix King, he actually dared to plot against me. His thoughts were the same as Fire Phoenix King's. After all, Fire Phoenix King didn't hide anything, and even said that this place was extremely dangerous. Everything he thought of was just a guess. Even if that's the case, he still has the intention to kill me. Xiaohua coldly snorted, if I can't reach the Dawn Rain continent this time and return to the 10,000 demon realm, I will be the first to kill Fire Phoenix King. Next, I'll interrogate the Swift Cherry Grand Sage. However, there was no panacea for regret in this world. Xiaohua merely thought about it. For a cultivator with principles like him, unless it was the last moment, he might not be able to force others to do something. Another dozen or so days passed and Xiaohua began to sense his body. Strands of heaven and earth yuan qi slowly gathered and strands of flesh and blood began to take shape. This made Xiaohua feel somewhat at ease. This was because the presence of heaven and earth yuan qi meant that the possibility of him being in the void was reduced. But at the same time, because he wasn't in the void, Xiaohua could only be in another unknown world. If Xiaohua wanted to return to the 10,000 demon realm, it would be equally difficult. Xiaohua's divine sense had been born, but the speed of growth was extremely slow. It was as if the divine sense had been attacked by the laws of 2 different worlds and was seriously injured. However, Xiaohua clearly sensed that this reborn divine sense was incomparably thick and contained the obscure laws of heaven and earth. Compared to the previous divine sense, not only was there a difference in quantity, but there were even some changes in essence. Since his divine sense could be released, although it wasn't far, Xiaohua could already understand the situation he was in. This was a place that seemed to be covered with mountain rocks. These mountain rocks were much larger than what Xiaohua usually saw. Many of them were still neat, like a collapsed house. And Xiaohua was lying between the cracks of the rocks, and his head was facing down. However, this wasn't the most serious thing. The most serious thing was Xiaohua's body. Xiaohua's body was almost completely collapsed, and now it was rapidly being reconstructed under the influence of heaven and earth yuan qi. However, without Feng Wu's blood essence, Xiaohua's body reconstruction relied on heaven and earth yuan qi, and the speed was too slow. This trip to the 10,000 demon realm has cost me a lot. Xiaohua thought with a wry smile, not to mention other things, just my body has been destroyed twice. Especially under the attack of the immortal messenger's human form, my soul was almost destroyed. If this Xiao didn't hide my primordial spirit in the space, if the immortal shuttle didn't leave this Xiao's body, the consequences would be unimaginable. This time, this Xiao's body seems to be slowly recovering, and there won't be any major problems. But what about Huang Tong, Feng Wu, and the others? They won't be destroyed, right? Thinking of this, Xiaohua curled his lips again. Feng Wu had the heavenly phoenix, even if Xiaohua's soul was destroyed, that guy wouldn't be destroyed. Since Feng Wu would be fine, Huang Tong and Thunder Immortal would also be fine, right? The problem is... Xiaohua was puzzled, where did they go? Could it be that they were separated from this Xiao? In another few hundred years, thousands of years, will they appear in the immortal realm, in the Demon League? And this Xiao's space has also been lost, do I have to find it again? While his thoughts were running wild, Xiaohua spent a few more days. Although there was heaven and earth yuan qi, there was no sun or moon. Xiaohua already had a judgment in his heart, and he couldn't help but start to calculate again, this unknown world. Sigh, if there is no accident, it should be the night spirit world. From here to the dawn rain continent, I don't know if there is any space passage, and I don't know what night spirit I will encounter. If this Xiao wants to rush back to the dawn rain continent as soon as possible, I'm afraid there will be some problems. At this moment, Xiaohua's divine sense could already extend for several kilometers. Just as he was thinking, Xiaohua was stunned again. Because wherever his divine sense reached, there were actually some indistinct and tough restrictions that blocked his divine sense. Moreover, the fluctuations produced by these restrictions were very familiar to Xiaohua. It was the fluctuations of a Dao formation. It can't be. How can there be a Dao formation in the night spirit world? Could this be the dawn rain continent? Oh, no matter what, this is the Dao celestial world. Xiaohua was excited, but in a moment, he was disheartened again. It can't be the dawn rain continent, because the swift cherry grand sage said clearly that there is only one space passage from the 10,000 demon world to the dawn rain continent, and this Xiao obviously entered 9. Moreover, from the power of this restriction, the person who set up the formation seems to have strength beyond the 9th grade of essence qi. The dawn rain continent, or even the immortal alliance, it is unlikely that there is such a cultivator. It can only be the 10,000 demon world, or the night spirit world, or the Dao celestial world, where the laws of heaven and earth are higher than the dawn rain continent, where there is such a cultivator. No. It seems that the laws of the Dao celestial world are also lower than the 10,000 demon world. This world is most likely the night spirit world. Of course, if I want to see if it is the dawn rain continent, I just need to see if there is any change in the heaven and earth yuan qi. Unfortunately, this Xiao doesn't have any divine ability now, and can't sense space. How can I check? This Xiao's life is bitter. Boom. Boom. Just as Xiaohua was complaining, a series of rumbling sounds resounded from outside the restriction. Ha, there is someone. Oh, it could also be the night spirit world's demon spirits breaking the formation. Xiaohua was overjoyed. He knew in his heart that he probably broke through the space outside the world and attracted the attention of others. Since there is a human or demon spirit, no matter what it is a joyous matter for Xiaohua. The worst thing is that Xiaohua can ask a simple question, unlike the 10,000 demon world, where he flew from the edge of the wasteland to the seaside like a headless fly. If his luck was bad and he changed direction, he would probably still be flying towards the edge of the world, right? Unfortunately, the roar sounded very weak, and after a dozen or so times, it disappeared again. Damn it, you have some perseverance. Xiaohua was a bit anxious. If he had the ability, he would have definitely grabbed the humans or demon spirits outside the restriction and told them the story of confidence. Fortunately, a few days later, there was another roar, and this time it lasted for a long time. The movement was also bigger. Hee, looks like I found a helper. Xiaohua happily lay inside the restriction, waiting for the human or demon race outside to break in. After a while, Xiaohua's eyes swiveled around again, and he mused, damn it, this Xiao's wretched appearance is truly somewhat shameful. Although I don't know how the night spirit world's demon spirits can see other people's appearance, this Xiao's original appearance is quite inappropriate. I might as well use another appearance first. Although Xiaohua's Fei has not recovered, the transformation technique of Qingqiu Mountain is also wonderful. Xiaohua did not need to use too many methods to turn into Zhang Xiaohua with a small nose and small eyes. Of course, this rustic Zhang Xiaohua appearance is now slowly growing flesh and blood. Unfortunately, Xiaohua still thought too much, but in the time it takes to eat a meal, the roar disappeared again. Xiaohua almost jumped out of the crack in the stone. This feeling of giving hope and then extinguishing it really made him feel very disappointed. That's not right. Xiaohua suddenly thought of something and secretly cursed. This seal was set up by a cultivator who has surpassed the 9th level of elemental energy. In other words, this seal is comparable to a great saint from the 10,000 demon realm. This kind of seal breaking doesn't seem like a great saint from the demon realm. It's not even a sun realm expert, how could they break the seal? Sigh, at the crucial moment, no one can be relied on, not to mention these night spirit world's demon spirits, even this Xiao's doppelganger is not enough, I still have to rely on myself. At this time, he was clear about his situation, and Xiao Hua no longer looked around, retracted his divine sense, and began to use the techniques that could be used to speed up the recovery of his body, wanting to recover as soon as possible. Chapter 48-47. However, contrary to Xiao Hua's expectations, the body repair that he thought was not difficult was now extremely difficult to do. His flesh and blood were like tender shoots growing, slowly and slowly, far from the refreshing feeling he had in the 10,000 demon realm. How is this possible? Xiao Hua was a little surprised, and hurriedly urged his divine sense to explore the nearby world's origin chi. That's not right, this restriction doesn't seem to be blocking world's origin chi, and the world's origin chi within the restriction is also extremely abundant. However, the world's origin chi did not rush into Xiao Hua's body like before to repair his body. Strange. Could it be that my injuries are too serious? Or my body is too strange, and this simple cultivation method can't repair it? Xiao Hua thought while releasing his divine sense to carefully explore. After observing for a few days, Xiao Hua finally had some understanding, and an indescribable feeling emerged from the bottom of his heart, either proud or regretful. I understand. I am originally a demigod, and my primordial spirit is entrusted to the world's origin chi. After my body was destroyed, the world's origin chi is far from enough to repair it. From my divine sense, it seems that the world's origin chi is repairing, but in fact, it is the world's origin chi that is repairing. In other words, my current body is similar to Panga's axe. In this unknown world, whether it is divine sense or the naked eye, it looks like a complete body, but in fact, it is just an outline. In the upper realm, only lines can be seen, and it is not a real body. It is also because the world's origin chi is repairing the body that it is so slow. Knowing the reason for the slow repair of his body, Xiao Hua was not in a hurry, and slowly urged his cultivation method to repair it. After more than 100 days, Xiao Hua's body could be considered to have been repaired successfully. This barely naturally meant that he could move, and he could barely use some small skills. As for the great sage of the human race, there was still a long way to go. At this time, Xiao Hua wanted to continue repairing his body, but a strange situation appeared. This was because when his physical body reached a certain level, his meridians, blood vessels, bones, and other parts of his body began to show other abnormalities. It was as if a seed had sprouted there. His physical body was no longer strengthened, and these parts began to grow rapidly. However, there were many places that required heaven and earth yuan qi. These places were growing at an extremely fast rate, but it was impossible to see any embryonic form in a short period of time. Sensing this abnormality, Xiao Hua's heart calmed down again. It seemed like his avatars hadn't been left behind in the void, but had been annihilated by the impact of the laws of the realm. These places must be where his avatars had been annihilated, and now they were reborn in this unknown realm. But that's not right either. Xiao Hua still had some doubts. For example, the Thunderclap Immortal was comprehending the boundary laws in his lower dantian. Was he still in his lower dantian? For example, Reverend Yun's dragon body was formed from the dragon cleansing liquid in the dragon realm. If he formed another dragon body in the nameless realm now, wouldn't it be incomparable to his previous dragon body? For example, Demon Sovereign Sure was a demon spirit with a demon body. How could he condense a demon body in this nameless world? Could it be that it's not just my physical body that has been constructed by the laws of heaven and earth, but the bodies of my other avatars also need to be constructed by the laws of heaven and earth? If that's the case, they've all become bodies of the laws of heaven and earth. Can they still be considered my clones? Although there were many questions in his mind that he couldn't get the answers he wanted, as long as all his avatars were still here, Xiaohua was satisfied. He pulled his avatars out from the crack, somersaulted, and landed on a rock he had chosen earlier. After that, he gave the darkness around him a quick glance, then walked towards a spot in the distance. During the past 100 days, the demon spirits had come a few more times. Needless to say, all of them came back empty-handed. In recent days, they had stopped coming. It looked like even the demon spirits in the night spirit realm would lose their confidence. Actually, Xiaohua had already swept through this restriction many times before this, and he'd already understood that this restriction was actually incomplete. Moreover, it was filled with an indescribable might, and it was precisely this might that caused Xiaohua to be unable to determine exactly what sort of formation this restriction was. Because there was a flaw, and Xiaohua was still inside the formation, although Xiaohua hadn't recovered his divine ability yet, as a Dao League's formation master, Xiaohua could still easily break the formation. After walking a distance without much effort, Xiaohua reached a spot in the restrictive formation. Xiaohua stretched out his hand and grabbed at the darkness. Then, he saw that the black shadow had traces of distortion under the huge force. When Xiaohua reached out again, boom. The space around him began to collapse. Following the collapse, swish. A glaring ray of sunlight shone down, shining on Xiaohua's naked, scarred body. Ah! Xiaohua calculated for a long time, but he really didn't expect that in this unknown realm, he would see sunlight the moment he appeared. Moreover, the sunlight was very glaring. This was obviously not the night spirit realm. Since it wasn't the night spirit realm, then what realm could it be? He couldn't help but be surprised, and his eyes naturally closed. Unfortunately, before Xiaohua could use his divine sense to look around, a very rough voice came from afar. "Hey, you! You actually dared to touch my banner, quickly return it." Banner? Xiaohua didn't have time to think about how he could understand the voice in the distance. He was only stunned for a moment, then he hurriedly released his divine sense. What made Xiaohua even more embarrassed was that before he could see what the banner looked like, he immediately sensed the naked body around him. Without thinking too much, he used the banner in his hand to cover his vital parts. At this moment, Xiaohua was incomparably glad. Long before he broke the restrictive formation, he changed his appearance to Zhang Xiaohua. Otherwise, wouldn't his face as a great sage of the human race be completely shattered? Before Xiaohua realized that Zhang Xiaohua was actually his original appearance, he heard swish, swish, swish. Several sounds broke through the air. In his divine sense, he actually saw 4 human cultivators surrounding him, and there was even a woman among them. At the same time, 3 strands of divine perception cautiously scanned Xiaohua's surroundings for a moment, and then that voice cried out once more. "Fellow, this place was discovered by my martial nephew earlier. We've already been here breaking through the formation for many days. Quickly return that banner to me, and I'll spare your life. Otherwise..." Not waiting for that man to finish speaking, Xiaohua very shyly replied, "Fellow Daoist, this humble Daoist is actually very willing to return this banner to fellow Daoist right now, but the question is, does this female fellow Daoist agree or not?" As Xiaohua spoke, he closed his eyes and faced the female cultivator who deliberately landed in front of him. Bah! The unknown female cultivator spat and reminded him, "Senior Martial Brother Hong, it's better to be careful. I heard Junior Apprentice Brother Lu say that he tried to break the formation a few times but failed. This formation is obviously no small matter. But look, this cultivator who doesn't seem to have much cultivation base actually used a banner to break a part of the formation. I'm afraid his strength is even higher than ours." At this point, the female cultivator couldn't help but change the topic and asked, "Junior Martial Brother Lu, do you have extra clothes? I see that his figure is similar to yours. What bullshit strength?" Another voice sounded again. This voice was a bit thin. If he had strength, wouldn't he transform into a crude set of clothes? That wouldn't consume much magic power. Hee, that's true. A rough voice sounded. At the same time, Xiaohua also had the same thought in his heart, that's true. Xiaohua previously only thought about transforming his appearance and didn't care about his physical body. Previously, when he just came out of the formation and faced the sunlight, he very naturally used the banner to cover his vital parts. He also didn't think that he would use magic power to transform. Now that he transformed again, he felt that it was a bit too obvious. Since he could transform, why didn't he transform earlier? If he transformed again now, wouldn't that be taking liberties with the female cultivator? What was special was that Xiaohua had already distinguished that the language these cultivators spoke was similar to Xiaoyu continent. Xiaohua also had the mood to mix with these low-level cultivators. Senior martial brothers, don't be careless. Finally, a slightly refined voice sounded. My disciple Yuqing happened to pass by the vicinity before the new year and suddenly heard a strange sound. He thought that some strange treasure was born. He hurriedly rushed over to investigate. But at that time, light and shadow were unceasing, and a kind of vast and enormous force that he couldn't fundamentally describe flooded the area. He couldn't even approach within 100 miles. After waiting for more than 100 days, that vast power of heaven and earth slowly dissipated again. And at this time, he discovered that the nearby mountain peaks and forests were all destroyed. It looked like a powerful magical treasure had come into being, destroying everything. However, just like what Junior Martial Brother said before, he didn't find anything special. He only saw in this hidden place this unbreakable formation. As he spoke, the voice paused as if he was pointing at something in the distance and explained, Senior Apprentice Brothers, you all saw it when you came here. All the traces of destruction show that if a magic treasure was born, it could only land in this formation. Therefore, when my disciple failed to break the formation, he returned to the mountain and secretly told Junior Martial Brother. Junior Martial Brother Qingyu, didn't you just say all this? That rough voice asked curiously. Saying it again, are you afraid that Senior Martial Brothers will forget? The Junior Martial Brother named Lu Qingyu smiled bitterly and said, Senior Martial Brother Hong, Junior Martial Brother's meaning is, what if it wasn't a magic treasure that was born, but a person? A person? How could a person be born? Senior Martial Brother Hong scratched his head, very puzzled. However, after a short moment, he seemed to have thought of something. He looked in astonishment at Xiaohua, who had already slowly narrowed his eyes to look at him, and even looked past him to look at the surroundings. He couldn't help but cry out, Junior Brother Qingyu, are you talking about this person? Chapter 48-48. The female cultivator was also silent at this time. She looked at Xiaohua up and down very quickly and said, Junior Brother Lu is right. This cultivator doesn't seem to have any cultivation base, but his body has scars and his muscles are strong. He's much stronger than ordinary cultivators. He actually broke the formation that you couldn't break. No, I don't believe it. Another cultivator still shook his head. How could a powerful cultivator come to this remote place? Lu Qingyu seemed to be somewhat disappointed and said in a low voice, Senior Brother Zhang, if there isn't a powerful cultivator, who laid this formation? I say. Everyone, can you give me some clothes to wear? Xiaohua didn't know whether to laugh or cry after listening for a moment. His eyes had already adapted to the sunlight. He looked up at Lu Qingyu and asked, the weather is very cold. You have the nerve to criticize me and let me stand in the cold wind like this? Lu Qingyu was a tall and thin cultivator. He wore clothes similar to Confucian cultivators and looked very gentle. Sorry. Although he didn't know Xiaohua's origin, Lu Qingyu still showed a smile on his face. As he spoke, he used his right hand to brush a ring on his left thumb and took out some clothes. He shook his hand and was about to throw them over. However, the moment the clothes left his hand, Lu Qingyu hesitated. However, he only hesitated for a moment. Lu Qingyu didn't pour magic power into the clothes and easily threw them into Xiaohua's hands. Oh! Xiaohua took the clothes and suddenly felt good about Lu Qingyu. Although he didn't mind Lu Qingyu's probing, this trust made him very happy. Just as Xiaohua shook the clothes and was about to put them on, senior brother Zhang said in a low voice, "Fellow Taoist, you just said that you would return the banner to us after getting the clothes." "Oh. Did I say that?" Xiaohua tilted his head and asked with a smile. "Why didn't you say that?" Senior brother Hong shouted, "You just said that you would give it to us, but you were afraid that junior sister Yu wouldn't agree." "Yes, this junior sister Yu. Would she agree?" Xiaohua asked again. "How could junior sister Yu not agree?" Senior brother Hong didn't understand the meaning behind Xiaohua's words at all, and said anxiously, "Don't you think so, Yuhua?" The junior martial sister named Yuhua rolled her eyes at senior martial brother Hong, then turned around and said, "Fellow Taoist, put on your clothes first." "Don't." Senior brother Hong panicked. "He clearly promised that as long as you agreed, he would give the banner to us." Seeing that Yuhua had turned around, Xiaohua shook his robe and casually put it on. Lu Qingyu's figure looked somewhat similar to Xiaohua's, but in fact, he was a bit shorter. The clothes were quite awkward on Xiaohua's body. Fortunately, Xiaohua could already use the transformation technique at this time, and his figure became slightly shorter, so he could wear it. After putting on his clothes, Xiaohua squinted his eyes and looked around. At this moment, Xiaohua only had one feeling: small. The world was small, the mountain was small, the forest was small, even the 4 cultivators in front of him were pitifully small. Alas, the demon spirits in the 10,000 demon realm are easily hundreds of feet. This Xiaohua also had a golden body of thousands of feet in the 10,000 demon realm, but here, it's only about 10 feet. No wonder everything is not pleasing to the eye. Xiaohua sighed slightly, retracted his gaze, and fell on Yuhua in front of him. It was not that he was frivolous, because in front of him, there was only Yuhua's back. Senior martial brother Hong and Lu Qingyu were on his left and right, and that senior martial brother Zhang was behind him, standing above the restriction. Yuhua's back looked a bit graceful, and she was wearing a kind of beautiful clothes, which was somewhat different from the female cultivators in the Xiaoyu continent. Her black hair was casually tied into a heart shape, and it was pinned behind her head with a hair bun, covering her snow-white neck. "Fellow Taoist, are you dressed?" Yuhua asked softly. "I'm already dressed, you can turn around." Xiaohua replied with a smile. Yuhua turned around. Bai Jing's simple and elegant appearance did not disappoint Xiaohua, and when Yuhua saw Xiaohua's gaze, her face inexplicably blushed, and her gaze flickered as she looked away, which made Xiaohua's heart skip a beat. He instantly understood that he had cultivated the secret technique of Qingqiu sect. His appearance might not have changed, but his temperament had long changed. The temptation of this big change was so great that even Fairy Xingyu said it was powerful, let alone this middle-stage gold-core female cultivator in front of him. Before, when he didn't open his eyes, Yuhua didn't feel anything special, but now, under his bright eyes, Yuhua didn't dare to look at him. Thinking of this, Xiaohua hurriedly turned around, looked at senior martial brother Hong, and said, "Fellow Taoist Hong, right?" Senior martial brother Hong was a man like a black tower. His body was thick, and it matched his voice very well. At this time, when he heard Xiaohua's words, he couldn't help but feel close to him, and he hurriedly replied, "Yes, I'm Hong Feng." Xiaohua waved the banner in his hand and said with a smile, "You want this banner?" "Yes." Hong Feng replied without hesitation, "Junior martial brother Lu hasn't been able to break this formation for many days. It must be an extremely powerful formation. Our Chanhe sect needs this kind of formation to protect our sect." Senior martial brother Hong. Lu Qingyu heard Hong Feng's honest answer, and he didn't even have the slightest intention of keeping it a secret, and he couldn't help but feel anxious. Xiaohua also didn't deliberately activate his divine ability, so Hong Feng suddenly realized and hurriedly looked at Lu Qingyu. "Oh, what's wrong?" "There are some things that shouldn't be said, so don't say it." Senior Marshal Brother Zhang's voice sounded from behind. Okay. Hong Feng agreed, but he looked at Xiaohua thoughtlessly and said, "Can you give this flag to us?" Xiaohua looked at this man with a smile. He had a kind of expectation in his heart. He really wanted to know if this world was the Dao Celestial Realm, if it was the Failure Immortal Alliance, and then ask about the location of the Million Meng Mountains. However, he suddenly turned around and looked at Senior Marshal Brother Zhang, who was in midair. Senior Marshal Brother Zhang was a short and thin old man. His eyes shone brightly, and he was obviously a shrewd person. However, when Xiaohua spoke, Senior Marshal Brother Zhang lost his usual shrewdness. Xiaohua asked, "What is fellow Daoist Zhang's name?" "I am Zhang Ji, a disciple of Chan He Sect's Yulan Hall." Zhang Ji was even more serious than Hong Feng, and he answered every question. Behind Xiaohua, Yuehua, and beside him, Lu Qingyu were shocked. They looked at each other and couldn't help but take a few steps back. "Don't be afraid, don't be afraid." Xiaohua turned his head slightly and looked at Yuehua with a smile. "I'm just casually asking, I don't mean any harm." Yuehua couldn't help but close her eyes. Xiaohua's smile was so charming that she couldn't help but want to speak. However, Xiaohua didn't ask Yuehua, but asked Zhang Ji, "Zhang Ji, let me ask you, do you know the Failure Immortal Alliance?" "Failure Immortal Alliance?" Zhang Ji was stunned and shook his head like a rattle drum. I don't know. I don't know." Hiss. Xiaohua's heart turned cold, and he hurriedly asked, "Then, is this the Dao Heaven Realm?" "Dao Heaven Realm? What is that place?" Zhang Ji didn't understand and asked curiously. Xiaohua rolled his eyes and immediately understood. Zhang Ji was only a golden core cultivator, how could he know the information about the realm? Thus, he smiled and said, "Then, this place, oh, this continent, what is its name?" "Oh, so that's what you are asking." Zhang Ji suddenly understood and said with a smile, "This place is naturally the Yilan continent." "Don't tell me you don't know." Hearing this, Lu Qingyu's face changed dramatically. He seemed to have thought of something. He raised his hand, and his finger touched the ring on his finger. His teeth were also biting his lips, as if he was extremely vigilant. Xiaohua's heart instantly fell into an ice cellar. He had already realized the seriousness of the matter. If this Yilan continent wasn't the other side of the Dawn Rain continent, and it wasn't the Dao Heaven Realm, then he would have to find the space passage to the Dawn Rain continent again. And with his current situation, how could he have enough time? Xiaohua thought for a moment and asked again, "Do you know why this place is called the Yilan continent?" "The shape of the continent is like a qilin, but it's also different from a qilin, so it's called the Yilan continent." Zhang Ji answered without hesitation. Do you know the Dawn Rain continent?" Xiaohua probed. Sure enough, Zhang Ji still shook his head. "What about Million Meng Mountains?" Xiaohua didn't dare to ask this last question. "I don't know." Zhang Ji shook his head, extinguishing Xiaohua's last hope. Damn it! Xiaohua couldn't help but curse. That. At this moment, Yuehua behind Xiaohua seemed to feel the disappointment in his heart and hurriedly said, "I know. In the distant southeast, there seems to be a place called Wumeng Mountain Range." "What did you say?" Yuehua's words were like the sound of nature. When Xiaohua heard it, he immediately turned around with a face full of ecstasy. I read from the sect's records that in the southeast direction of the Yilan continent, there's an extremely dangerous place called Wumeng Mountain Range. Yuehua answered carefully, "But I don't know if it's the same as Million Meng Mountains, both sides have the word, Meng." Ha ha ha. Xiaohua laughed loudly, his body somersaulted a few times in the air before he landed and asked, "Then do you know what's on the other side of Wumeng Mountain Range?" Seeing Xiaohua so excited, Yuehua was so excited that her nose turned red. However, she still shook her head honestly and said, "I don't know what's on the other side of Wumeng Mountain Range, there's no record of it in the sect's records. If you want to know, you might have to go to the Fallen Immortal Sect and ask. Fallen Immortal Sect? Xiaohua smiled. He really wanted to ask, but he swallowed the words back down. His strength hadn't recovered yet, how could he ask? Asking too much now would only make him look timid. Thank you, Fairy Yu, I'll give this banner to you. Xiaohua smiled and raised his hand to give the banner to her. Yuehua's face turned even redder. She took the banner, bowed and said, "Thank you, fellow cultivator." Chapter 48-49. Ha, fellow Taoist is really straightforward, I like it very much. Seeing Xiaohua give the banner to Yuhua without saying a word, Hong Feng laughed and cupped his hands. I haven't asked for fellow Taoist's name yet. Hee, I'm Zhang Xiaohua. Xiaohua smiled and cupped his hands in return. At this time, he simply didn't call himself old man and didn't reveal his real name. So it's fellow Taoist Zhang, I'm sorry for not recognizing you. Lu Qingyu also smiled and cupped his hands, asking, may I know where fellow Taoist Zhang is from? Hee, naturally from where I came from. Xiaohua didn't say it directly and covered it up. Master. Before Zhang Ji could greet him, a tall and handsome foundation establishment cultivator in the distance rushed over on a flying sword and shouted loudly, how's the situation? Did the array? Before the cultivator finished speaking, he had already noticed Xiaohua, who was still surrounded by Zhang Ji and the others. He immediately shut up and was about to turn around and escape. Just as his figure paused, he saw the banner in Yuhua's hand and the clothes on Xiaohua's body. He seemed to understand something. Although he slowed down his flying speed, he still flew over steadily. Lu Qingyu saw the cultivator coming over and a smile appeared in his eyes. He said to Xiaohua, this is the inferior disciple I just mentioned, Nuo Yeqing. Then, he shouted to Nuo Yeqing, Yeqing, quickly come over and greet Senior Zhang. Yes, master. Nuo Yeqing hurriedly landed and respectfully saluted Xiaohua. Hee, get up. Xiaohua raised his hand and motioned for Nuo Yeqing to get up. However, he looked at Nuo Yeqing's appearance and was somewhat puzzled. Because when Nuo Yeqing just appeared, he felt a slightly familiar aura on Nuo Yeqing's body. As for what kind of aura it was, Xiaohua himself didn't know. But looking at Nuo Yeqing's appearance, it was completely unfamiliar. He had never seen it before. After Nuo Yeqing saluted, she curiously looked at Xiaohua and hurriedly walked to Lu Qingyu's side, whispering, Master, it seems that you've succeeded. Could it be that Senior Zhang helped you? What are you doing here? Lu Qingyu said with a frown. Our Yulan Hall has been busy these past few days. Your master and your martial uncles came out, and were afraid that the hall master would be looking for you, so we specially left you in the hall. Hee, the palace master was having a headache, so he dismissed the disciples early in the afternoon. Seeing that the palace master was fine, I slipped out. Nuo Yeqing blinked her eyes. Seeing that Lu Qingyu didn't talk about the sect's affairs behind Xiaohua's back, she was rather puzzled. Just as Nuo Yeqing finished speaking, Zhang Ji became anxious and urged, Junior brother Lu, let's do it quickly. The hall master had a headache before noon and would flip out at night. It's our turn to have a headache. Let's hurry back. All right. Lu Qingyu nodded slightly at Xiaohua. His figure flew to the top of the restriction formation, and pointed at a place with his finger. Previously, I attacked here, but it didn't have any effect. Now that fellow Zhang has broken a corner of the formation, the other places should be easy to deal with. Let's start from the collapsed corner. Following Lu Qingyu's instructions, Hong Feng, Zhang Ji, and Nuo Yeqing all flew over. Yuehua was not in a hurry. Instead, she flew to Xiaohua, lowered her head, and said, Fellow Zhang, if we can't break the restriction formation, please help us again. This formation is very important to us. Hee, I know, you can go. Xiaohua smiled slightly and didn't say much. However, Just these few words made Yuehua, a Jindan stage cultivator, unable to help but feel her heart jump. Not to mention Yuehua and the other Jindan stage cultivators working together to break the formation, Xiaohua walked a few laps on the left side and released his divine sense to look at the desolate scenery around him. After thinking for a moment, he slowly walked back to the mountain peak. The celestial Tao world was a strange place for Xiaohua. Although he was somewhat sure that this celestial Tao world was the other side of the Dawn Rain continent, he couldn't be sure after all. He still had to rely on these so-called disciples of the Chanhe sect in front of him. Xiaohua returned to his original place. Nearly an hour had passed. Whether it was Zhang Ji, Lu Qingyu, or even Hong Feng, who had the best cultivation, their foreheads were all sweating. However, when they looked at the formation that they worked together to attack, except for the flaw that Xiaohua revealed when he took away a banner, there were no other abnormalities. Looking at the people breaking the formation, Xiaohua's heart was a little complicated. Because at this time, although he didn't use any magic, he could clearly see everyone's cultivation. It was as if everyone's cultivation was revealed in front of him without any cover. Then, Xiaohua looked at the mountain peak, the trees, and even looked up at the sky and looked down at the earth. At this time, in his eyes, the whole world was completely different from before. Previously, he saw the mountain as a mountain and the water as water. Now, the mountain wasn't a mountain and the water wasn't water. It was as if everything in his eyes was a kind of outline or the existence of laws. As for Xiaohua himself, although he was different from all of this, Xiaohua believed that as long as he was willing, he could perfectly integrate with all of this, possess all of this, and control all of this. Haha, perhaps this is a sign that my primordial spirit and trusting technique has reached a higher level. Xiaohua understood and couldn't help but be secretly happy. I have entrusted my primordial spirit to the law of the realm, and I have become the law of the realm. Everything in this realm is under this law, so I can naturally control all of this. This realm seems to have been mentioned in Xian Hong's discussion in the Star Moon Palace. It should be the magic of a demigod or nihility god. Xiaohua thought as he walked closer. His eyes fell on the magic array in the distance. At this time, the magic array in Xiaohua's eyes was no longer the same as before. However, he still couldn't see any clues at a glance. This was enough to show how powerful this magic array was. At this time, Nuo Yeqing and Yu Hua were already resting on a rock nearby. Their eyes were filled with helplessness, but more than that, there was a kind of ecstasy. The more solid the magic array was, the more powerful it was. Moreover, Yu Hua had an inexplicable belief in Xiaohua. Zhang Ji and the others might not be able to break the magic array, but wasn't there still Xiaohua? Seeing that Xiaohua was walking back, Yu Hua gave Nuo Yeqing a slight look. Nuo Yeqing shrugged her shoulders and hurriedly jumped down from the rock. She didn't use the flying technique and flew in front of Xiaohua. She said respectfully, "Junior greets Senior Zhang." Ha! Xiaohua had an inexplicable good impression of Nuo Yeqing. He said with a smile, "One who is unaccountably solicitous is hiding evil intentions." He, Senior is wise and farsighted. You can see this junior's thoughts at a glance. Nuo Yeqing said with a smile, "However, this junior is happy to steal something for the sect." Suddenly, Xiaohua seemed to wake up. Why did he have a familiar feeling with Nuo Yeqing? Nuo Yeqing's shy face and cheap expression, wasn't it somewhat similar to Xiang Zhili's? And Hong Feng's simple and honest appearance, wasn't it somewhat similar to Xiang Yang's? A kind of longing and nostalgia for a long time couldn't help but surge in Xiaohua's heart. It seems that you want me to help you break the magic array? Xiaohua asked kindly. Of course, of course. Nuo Yeqing nodded her head like a chicken pecking rice. If Senior can help, that would be the best. This junior will be very grateful. Well said. Xiaohua pinched his chin and asked, "If I can break the magic array, what benefits will I get?" The benefits are great. Nuo Yeqing said casually, "Good wine and good meat. As long as Senior likes it, this junior will give it to you." Seeing that Nuo Yeching's character was really similar to Xiang Zhili's, Xiaohua couldn't help but laugh. He looked at Nuo Yeching and said, "Fairy Yu, show me the banner." Seeing Nuo Yeching being so impudent, Nuo Yeching's heart was sweating. It was just as Lu Qingyu said. She couldn't see through this unprepossessing cultivator in front of her at all. Maybe he really was a senior expert. Ordinary people would be too late to be respectful to him, so how could he joke around? However, Xiaohua didn't put on any airs. He seemed to like joking with Nuo Yeching, so Nuo Yeching's heart was relieved. When she heard Xiaohua looking at her, Nuo Yeching didn't dare to be negligent. She hurriedly responded and took out the banner from an emerald green jade bracelet on her wrist. She respectfully handed it over. Xiaohua just casually pulled out the banner and didn't take it seriously. Now that he looked at it carefully, he couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. This banner was only a few feet in size. There was a star engraved on it. This star was surrounded by a smoke-like halo, which covered most of the banner. The rest of the flag was blank until the edge of the flag was covered in star patterns. At this time, the banner was already damaged. There were traces of lightning strikes on the edges. Most of the star patterns were destroyed by the so-called lightning strikes. The star halos in the center of the banner also had dozens of lightning-like cracks, as if they were pierced by sharp swords. However, where Xiaohua's eyes fell, the fluttering banner flickered slightly, as if there was a three-legged golden crow spirit beast floating up. It was very strange. Fairy Yu, Xiaohua's eyes showed a strange color. He handed the banner to Nuo Yeching and said, "Use your magic power to see." Okay. Nuo Yeching already had a lot of trust in Xiaohua. After receiving the banner, she used her magic power. As her magic power passed, the banner emitted a faint brilliance. A three-legged golden crow appeared from the star on the banner. Not only did it block the star and star patterns, but the banner itself was also covered. However, just as the three-legged golden crow appeared, the brilliance immediately converged, revealing the broken star halos. Obviously, it was because Nuo Yeching didn't have enough magic power. This is the banner of the capital star formation, Xiaohua asserted without hesitation. He raised his eyes and carefully looked at the surrounding mountains. Sure enough, under the mess, Xiaohua found some traces of lightning tribulation. Chapter 4850. I understand now. Xiaohua thought to himself. There must be a cultivator who is undergoing the lightning tribulation here. The Du Tian star array was used by that cultivator to resist the lightning tribulation. However, because I broke into the heavenly tribulation and destroyed everything, the capital sky star array was revealed. Oh, or perhaps it was because I crashed into the capital star formation that the formation was revealed, allowing Nuo Yeching to discover it. Xiaohua looked at Yu Hua and Nuo Yeching, who were looking at him expectantly, and said with a smile, "Ask them to stop. This is the Du Tian star array. With their current cultivation, I'm afraid they can't break it." Du Tian star array. Nuo Yeching was stunned. She obviously didn't know the name of this array. Yu Hua was also stunned. After a while, her eyes widened and she exclaimed, "Senior, are you talking about the demon-vanquishing star array? That's the fallen immortal sect-protecting array." Xiaohua shrugged and said with a smile, "I don't know about this. I know that this is the Du Tian star array and there are traces of the lightning tribulation on the flag. Maybe a cultivator used this array to set up the lightning tribulation." Before Xiaohua could finish, Yu Hua couldn't help but exclaim. She covered her mouth with her hand and said, I know." Nuo Yeching was still puzzled and asked hurriedly, "What does martial uncle you know?" Yu Hua didn't answer Nuo Yeching. Instead, she hurriedly shouted at Lu Qingyu and the others, "Junior brother Lu, hurry up and stop." "Ah. What's wrong?" Lu Qingyu and the others were already dispirited and were about to find an excuse to stop. When they heard Yu Hua's shout, they immediately flew to her side and asked hurriedly, Yu Hua was excited and exclaimed, "This is the fallen immortal sect's spiritual master Huang Qiong's lightning tribulation." Before Yu Hua could finish, Zhang Ji exclaimed, "How is that possible? Why would spiritual master Huang Qiong be here?" Xiao Hua smiled and said, "There's nothing impossible. This place is vast and sparsely populated. Moreover, the heaven and earth essence qi is abundant. It's a good place for lightning tribulation." Heaven and earth essence qi. Nuo Yeqing looked at Xiao Hua strangely and asked, "Senior Zhang, isn't it the world's spiritual qi?" "He, it's the same, it's the same." Xiao Hua says with a smile, "We call the spiritual qi of heaven and earth origin qi. They're all the same." Unfortunately, Xiao Hua didn't notice the strange look in Nuo Yeqing's eyes. Instead, he was looking thoughtfully at the mountain range. Yuehua seemed to have noticed Xiao Hua's gaze as well. She hurriedly said to Lu Qingyu, "I believe junior brother Lu also knows about the fallen immortal sect's spiritual master Huang Qiong's tribulation, right?" Lu Qingyu nodded. "Of course. Everyone in the Fengyan kingdom knows about this." "Damn it." Hong Feng, who was next to him, was even more excited. He shouted, "I was just a qi refinement kid back then, but I also had a very deep impression of this famous tribulation passing cultivator from the fallen immortal sect. Back then, it was said that he was one of the Mahayana cultivators most likely to transcend the tribulation in our Fengyan kingdom. No. He is the Mahayana cultivator with the highest chance of transcending the tribulation, not just one of them." Zhang Ji seemed to have heard about spiritual master Huang Qiong as well. He said, "My master even used spiritual master Huang Qiong's story to lecture me. It's a pity that spiritual master Huang Qiong didn't ask the fallen immortal sect's elders to protect him when he transcended the tribulation. In the end, he disappeared without a trace. No one knows if he succeeded or not." Yuehua looked at Xiao Hua and then at the formation in the distance. She said softly, "Actually, as far as I know, there's another saying in the fallen immortal sect." Lu Qingyu saw that Yuehua was in a difficult position and didn't dare to continue. He continued, "Junior sister Yuehua is right. There's another saying that spiritual master Huang Qiong failed the tribulation and didn't even enter the tribulation passing stage. This is because after spiritual master Huang Qiong, no other Mahayana cultivator has successfully transcended the tribulation." Ah! Xiao Hua, who was standing at the side, suddenly turned around and asked, "Why no other Mahayana cultivator has successfully transcended the tribulation? Is it because they weren't prepared enough?" "No." Lu Qingyu explained bitterly, "It's because after spiritual master Huang Qiong transcended the tribulation, the heaven and earth spirit qi suddenly changed." "What? The heaven and earth spirit qi changed?" Although Xiao Hua's words were filled with shock and joy, Lu Qingyu and the others were confused. "Yes. Senior Zhang." Yuehua continued, "The Chanhe sect is a small sect. In the past 50,000 years, no disciple has been able to cultivate to the Mahayana realm. Therefore, no disciple has been able to transcend the tribulation. However, according to the news from the other sects in the Fengyan kingdom, after spiritual master Huang Qiong's lightning tribulation, every Mahayana cultivator would be struck by a crimson lightning that had never been seen in the lightning tribulation before. According to the seniors of the other sects, the crimson lightning is the holy lightning tribulation. It's a lightning tribulation that's formed to break free from the body of a demon beast. The holy lightning tribulation specifically targets the body of a demon beast. It's not something a human body can withstand. Therefore, no Mahayana cultivator has been able to transcend the holy lightning tribulation and become a tribulation passing stage cultivator." Hearing this, Xiao Hua was certain that the so-called Yilan continent must be the other side of the Dawn Rain continent, which was the continent where the Defeat You Immortal Alliance was located. Then it's been a few hundred years since spiritual master Huang Qiong transcended the tribulation. Xiao Hua thought for a moment and asked again. "This?" Yuehua hesitated as if she was recalling. After a moment, she replied, it seems to be 600 years ago. When she said 600 years, Yuehua's face suddenly turned red. It seemed that Xiaohua's question had revealed her age. More than 600 years. Ah. Xiaohua didn't notice Yuehua's abnormality. Instead, he frowned and calculated in his heart, I stayed in the Dawn Rain continent for less than 100 years. After arriving at the 3 continents, I first went into seclusion in the West Sea for more than 100 years. Then, I went to the Heaven Prison for more than 200 years. After that, I seem to have spent another few decades in the Star Moon Palace. After that, I went to the 10,000 Demon Realm and spent another 20 years. That's about 600 years. The time of the Heaven and Earth Spirit Chi's mutation is exactly the same as the Dawn Rain continent. Alas, if I could be born 1,000 years earlier, I might be able to cultivate to the spirit severing stage. Now it's difficult again. When Xiaohua was thinking, Hong Feng suddenly sighed. Xiaohua had a plan in his heart and was in a good mood. He looked at Hong Feng and said with a smile, fellow Taoist Hong's nature is simple and honest. It's a good material for cultivation. Although your cultivation is shallow now, as long as you cultivate diligently, you can reach the spirit severing stage. It's even possible for you to step into the void refinement or body integration stage. Senior Zhang, there's something you don't know. Hearing Yuehua call Xiaohua Senior Zhang, Hong Feng didn't dare to neglect and said with a wry smile, if it was before the spiritual qi of heaven and earth changed, I would have such confidence. But now that the world has changed, even condensing a nascent soul requires a thunder tribulation. Which human cultivator dares to say that he can definitely pass this abnormal thunder tribulation? Ah. Is that so? Xiaohua was surprised and asked curiously, could it be that there is a thunder tribulation after the gold core stage? It's more than just a thunder tribulation. Although this thunder tribulation is not a holy thunder tribulation, it is still a demonic beast's thunder tribulation. Even if we are a body cultivator, it is impossible for us to pass this kind of thunder tribulation. Lu Qingyu complained. Xiaohua touched his nose and said with a wry smile, this is troublesome. Needless to say, the Dawn Rain continent was also like this. Xiaohua originally wanted to place Li Xiang, Xiong Yi, and the others in Dawn Rain continent, but since the spiritual energy of heaven and earth mutated and gave birth to such a strange lightning tribulation, Li Xiang, Xiong Yi, and the others. How could they smoothly cultivate into the spirit severing stage? The 2 of them. And even the disciples of the soaring Dragon Mountain range of the Fortune Gate were not bad, but they were not heaven-defying. The disciples of the Tao Gate of the Yi-Lin continent were unable to pass the nascent soul tribulation. If they couldn't pass the thunder tribulation, they would definitely not be able to pass it. Hearing that the topic had gone too far, Yuehua, whose face was still red, hurriedly raised her voice and said, Junior brother Lu, Senior Zhang just said that this is the flag of the demon subduing star formation. If I'm not wrong, the Royal Dome's spiritual master's remains should be inside the formation. See. Lu Qingyu sucked in a breath of cold air and a trace of panic appeared in his eyes. He looked at Zhang Ji, who was also at a loss. On the other hand, Hong Feng was ecstatic and shouted, that's great, that's great. Regardless of whether the Royal Dome's spiritual master died or went missing, the things he left behind must be incomparably precious. If we bring it back to the sect, it will definitely bring benefits to the sect. Not to mention the Royal Dome's spiritual master's remains, even if we bring the flag of the demon subduing star formation back to the sect, we will be able to. Hong Feng looked at Zhang Ji with a puzzled expression and asked, Junior brother Zhang, you. Why are you looking at me? Senior brother Hong. Zhang Ji smiled bitterly and said, since we know that this is the place where the Royal Dome's spiritual master underwent his thunder tribulation, we can't casually touch a single strand of grass here. In the past, the fallen immortal sect paid a huge price to find the whereabouts of the Royal Dome's spiritual master. Not only did they want to confirm whether the Royal Dome's spiritual master underwent his thunder tribulation, but more importantly, the demon subduing star formation and the things that the Royal Dome's spiritual master left behind. Tell me, if we break the demon-vanquishing star formation and take the things inside, the fallen immortal sect will definitely wipe us out from the Feng Yen kingdom. Hee, that's true. Hong Feng laughed and touched his head. He asked, what about now? It's very simple. Lu Qingyu shrugged and replied, we will rush back to the sect now and ask the sect leader to make a decision. If nothing goes wrong, the sect leader will send a disciple to deliver the flag to the fallen immortal sect at night. Moreover, the sect leader will definitely send a disciple here to protect this place until the fallen immortal sect's disciple arrives. Zhang Ji added on. As for Yue Hua, she looked at Xiao Hua worriedly. She was afraid that Xiao Hua would suddenly break the formation. Chapter 48-51. Of course, Xiao Hua wanted to see what was inside the array, but after thinking about it, he didn't find anything special when he was repairing his body. Those big and small square things were definitely not rocks, but things used to set up the array. However, these things weren't made of special materials, so they didn't attract Xiao Hua's attention at all. Forget it, it's just the capital star array, this Xiao can set it up casually. Moreover, this Xiao's strength has already reached the 10th grade, why would I be greedy for these small advantages? Thinking of this, Xiao Hua smiled and said, Fairy Yu, don't worry, these things can't be seen in my eyes. Sigh, what a pity about these array flags. Hong Feng was still reluctant and looked into the distance. Without waiting for Hong Feng to finish speaking, Nuo Yeqing immediately smiled and said, Senior Zhang, where are you going? If you have time, why don't you come to my Chanhe sect? My sect master is very hospitable, and he might have something that senior wants to know. Yu Hua's eyes lit up, and she immediately came to a realization. Since Xiao Hua could see that these were the array flags of the demon subduing star array, he should know the method of setting up the demon subduing star array. At the very least, he should be able to give some pointers, right? Senior. Yu Hua glanced at Lu Qingyu and Zhang Ji, and the three of them bowed at the same time and said, Junior has offended you previously, please forgive us. Junior would like to invite Senior to Xingyun Ridge, so that we can properly apologize to Senior. Yes. Hong Feng also realized and hurriedly bowed and said, my Chanhe sect protection array is too weak, we also need Senior Zhang's pointers. Yu Hua's face immediately turned red, their little thoughts were exposed by Hong Feng. Hee. Xiao Hua looked at Yu Hua's shyness and turned to ask Nuo Yeqing, does your Chanhe sect have a map of the Yilin continent? Nuo Yeqing said cheerfully, Senior, this junior has only seen the map of the Feng Yen country in the sect, but the sect master definitely has it. If the sect master doesn't have it, my Chanhe sect's disciples will find a way to help Senior find it. My Chanhe sect has hundreds of thousands of disciples, it's definitely more convenient than Senior finding it alone. Since that's the case, let's go. Xiao Hua said with a smile. Senior, please. Nuo Yeqing was overjoyed and raised her hand to invite Xiao Hua to go first. Are there no flying boats? Xiao Hua looked at Lu Qingyu and the others strangely. They were all golden core cultivators. It was impossible that they didn't even have a flying magic tool, right? Yes. Lu Qingyu hurriedly took out a palm-sized magic tool from the ring and activated it with his magic power. It turned into a flying boat that was more than 100 feet in size. After inviting Xiao Hua to board, he explained, Juniors sneaked out and didn't dare to make a big fuss, so we didn't want to use a flying boat. Hee, it's too late to hide anything now. Yue Hua smiled. She knew that the array flag was very important to the fallen immortal sect. If the Chanhe sect returned the array flag to the fallen immortal sect, they would definitely be on good terms with the fallen immortal sect. This was a great merit, and they would definitely be rewarded. The place that spiritual master Huang Qiong chose to transcend the tribulation was very remote. Lu Qingyu didn't know why Nuo Yeqing passed by this place. In short, Lu Qingyu steered the flying boat and flew for half a day. When night fell, they flew to the location of a teleportation array. After passing through the teleportation array, they flew for the time it took to burn an incense stick before arriving at a place with undulating mountain ranges. There were green pine trees on the left side of the mountain peaks. Waves of heaven and earth spirit chi floated in the wind like clouds. The patrolling disciples in armor shuttled through the clouds. Xiaohua smiled. After so many years, he finally arrived at the place where the Taoist cultivators gathered. When the flying boat landed, a group of Foundation establishment cultivators had already flown over to investigate. When they saw Lu Qingyu and the others, they bowed and saluted, but their eyes were fixed on Xiaohua. Before Lu Qingyu and the others spoke, Noa Yeqing introduced, "This is Senior Zhang. He's a distinguished guest invited by my master. If possible, please send a message to the sect leader." This. The leading disciple was a little hesitant. "Junior brother Noah, it's not that I don't want to send a message, but these few days." Without waiting for the disciple to finish speaking, whoosh. A light shadow flew out from the mountain range and flew towards the left side of Xiaohua and the others. However, before the light shadow passed by, a divine sense swept over. Seeing that it was Lu Qingyu and the others, it immediately turned around and landed in a moment. It was a rather old late gold core stage old man. The old man hurriedly shouted, "Martial nephew Lu, why are you still here? The sect leader is furious. Why aren't you going over?" As he spoke, the old man's gaze fell on Xiaohua again. He asked curiously, "Who is this?" Lu Qingyu hurriedly bowed and said, "Greetings, martial uncle Hu. This is Senior Zhang, whom I met in the Wild West mountain range. He has some important matters to discuss with the sect leader." "Ha, this old man is Humubai. Greetings, fellow Taoist Zhang." The old man with the surname Hu smiled and cupped his hands. "I'm Zhang Xiaohua." Xiaohua also smiled and politely returned the greeting. Humubai couldn't see through Xiaohua's cultivation, and Xiaohua's name was unfamiliar to him. In particular, since Xiaohua came with Lu Qingyu, he probably wasn't a particularly powerful cultivator. Therefore, after greeting Xiaohua, Humubai said to Lu Qingyu, "If martial nephew wants to introduce fellow Taoist Zhang, it'd be better to wait a few days. Recently, the sect leader has lost his temper several times because of the matter in the Yulan Hall. Now, the sect leader can't take it anymore. He wants me to go to the outer sect and urge them to hurry up." Yes, this junior understands. Lu Qingyu knew that Humubai meant well. He smiled and said, "However, Senior Zhang's matter is very important. This junior doesn't dare to delay." "Well, since that's the case, go to the Yulan Hall first and ask the sect leader to take you there." Humubai nodded, cupped his hands at Xiaohua, and left. See. Not far away, the patrolling disciple also said, "Even Grandmaster Who asked you to go to the Yulan Hall first. Don't make me send a message." "All right." Noa Yeqing was a little helpless. He said in a low voice, "Senior, we're really too slow." It's fine. Xiaohua liked to keep a low profile the most and waved his hand nonchalantly. When Yuehua saw this, she secretly liked it. She had also never seen such a secretive cultivator. However, when she saw that Xiaohua's clothes were not very suitable for him, she couldn't help but think of something else. After flying past the patrolling disciples of the Chanhe sect, it didn't take long for them to arrive in front of a platform that was about a mile wide. There was a huge white jade door on the platform. The words Chanhe sect were written on it in a flamboyant style. There was a faint fluctuation of magic power on the door. The fluctuation was like water ripples that spread in all directions. It landed near the door and connected with other fluctuations, protecting the mountain range behind the white jade door. The Yulan Hall was one of the many halls on the mountain range. Xiaohua landed in front of the mountain range with Yuehua and the others. He didn't fly directly into the hall. Instead, he followed a sky ladder that shone with a fluorescent light in the night. He seemed to be walking slowly, but in fact, he was climbing very quickly. Senior Zhang. Lu Qingyu had already spoken. He said in a low voice, in my Chanhe sect, you can't fly directly to the main peak if you're not in the nascent soul realm. I don't know what realm you're in. Xiaohua waved his hand and said, it's fine, it's fine. I don't like etiquette and ceremony. A guest should follow the host. That's good, that's good. When Lu Qingyu heard this, he felt like he was in a dream. He couldn't believe his luck that he could meet such an expert who didn't put on airs. Of course, while Lu Qingyu believed in Xiaohua, Zhang Ji muttered to himself. His confidence had been shaken, and he felt that Xiaohua might be a liar. However, this thought only flashed through Zhang Ji's mind. Regardless of whether Xiaohua was really a swindler or not, since Xiaohua could take out the capital star array's array flag from the array, his strength was not something that Zhang Ji could reach. Moreover, Xiaohua dared to come to the Chanhe sect and dared to face the head of the Chanhe sect. Xiaohua couldn't be a liar. While they were talking, they had almost reached the end of the sky ladder. Although there were some disciples flying low between the palaces on the mountain peak, which looked a little lively, these people didn't make any big movements. Even the Dao sect cultivators who weren't afraid of the night liked the silence of the night. Damn it! But in this silence, a hoarse and angry voice came into Xiaohua's ears. This is already the 17th batch, right? Why? Why haven't even 10 suitable disciples been chosen? If so, how many disciples can my Chanhe sect recruit this year? If we can't even find suitable disciples, why does the Chanhe sect want my Yulan Hall? It's better to close the door early and go to other places. Oh. Xiaohua was taken aback. His divine sense swept in the direction of the voice. Before he could find the location of the Yulan Palace, he had already seen more than 1,000 children around the age of 5 in the square in front of the palace. These children were not wearing much and were shivering in the night wind. However, each and every one of their small faces carried a kind of tenacity and expectation as they looked at the palace. This was a hall that was more than 1,000 feet high. Its style was simple and unadorned, which was very different from the Xiaoyu continent. There was a plaque above the door. This plaque was like a magnolia flower, and the 3 big words in the middle were Yulan Hall. There was no restriction on the door. A ray of light like Minghua stone penetrated through the door and fell to the ground, shining on several disciples in front of the door. Seeing Nuo Yeqing sneaking over stealthily, the disciple guarding the door hurriedly covered his mouth with his finger and motioned Nuo Yeqing to be quiet. Then he turned to look inside the hall and gently waved his right hand, indicating Nuo Yeqing to leave quickly. Unfortunately, Nuo Yeqing shrugged and looked helpless. She continued to approach slowly, which made the disciple feel helpless. Sure enough, just as Nuo Yeqing entered the hall, the voice inside shouted again, "Who is it? Don't you see that the disciples are being tested in the Yulan Hall?" Chapter 48-52. Disciple Nuo Yeqing greets Palace Master. Nuo Yeqing stuck out her tongue and hurriedly bowed at the door. "Humph, you dare to come back. Where's your master? Why haven't I seen him for a day?" "Hee hee, congratulations Palace Master, congratulations Palace Master." Behind Nuo Yeqing, Lu Qingyu hurriedly flew out and bowed respectfully with a smile on his face. "Congratulations my ass." The voice inside said angrily, "I'm here supervising the array, where did you all go? If you don't explain it clearly today, I'll kick you out of Yulan Hall and down to Xingyun Ridge." "Palace Master, you've wronged me." Lu Qingyu cried, "I know that I'm afraid that I won't be able to complete the sect master's strict order this year, so I've been trying to find a way out. Today, I've returned with a full load, why don't you reward me?" "Ah. You actually found 300 suitable disciples." While they were speaking, a tall and sturdy old man's figure flashed and landed outside the door of the Yulan Palace. He grabbed Lu Qingyu's arm and peered out of the palace. This old man was dark and tall, like a general who had been on the battlefield. He was even more frightening than Hong Feng. Unfortunately, Outside the hall, other than those disciples of Holy, there was only Xiaohua and the others standing not far away. Where did the disciples come from? Damn it! The old man was a little angry and was about to curse. Yu Hua hurriedly shook the banner and handed it to the old man, saying, "Palace Master Xia, look, what is this? What is this?" The old man was stunned and asked curiously, "Are the 300 disciples in this banner?" "Palace Master, take a closer look." At this moment, of course, Zhang Ji was indispensable. He hurriedly stepped forward and reminded, "Look at this banner. What kind of array is this?" The old man looked for a while and shook his head, "I can't see it." As he spoke, the old man's lightning-like eyes swept towards Xiaohua who was accompanying Hong Feng. Xiaohua looked at the middle-stage nascent soul old man, smiled and cupped his hands, saying, "I Zhang Xiaohua greets Palace Master Xia." "What's going on?" Palace Master Xia frowned and looked at Lu Qingyu. Lu Qingyu smiled and said, "Palace Master, please take a look at this flag and think about the Fallen Immortal Sect's protective mountain array." Fallen Immortal Sect's devil-subduing star formation. Palace Master Xia seemed to have realized something. Looking at the flag, he asked curiously, "This is the array flag of the devil-subduing star heavenly array? Where did you get it?" "We don't have that ability." Yuehua smiled. "This flag was given to us by Senior Zhang." "It's like this." Without waiting for Yuehua to finish her explanation, Palace Master Xia immediately understood something when she mentioned the demon-subduing star formation. His body trembled slightly, and his eyes flashed with ecstasy. Roar. Palace Lord Xia let out a long howl and cupped his hands at the sky. "Thank the heavens for giving my Chanha sect a way to survive." Then, he bowed to Xiaohua and said, "I am Xia Feng. Thank you for your righteous act, fellow Taoist Zhang." I don't dare. Xiaohua hurriedly wanted to raise his hand, but Xia Feng had already bowed. Xiaohua could only say modestly, "This is all thanks to Nua Yeqing. If you didn't find that place, how could I come here? This is an important matter. We can't delay it any longer." Fellow Taoist Zhang. Xia Feng stood up and hurriedly pulled Xiaohua. He was about to soar into the sky, but he still said, "Please come with me to see the sect leader." However, when Xia Feng reached out his hand, he hesitated. After thinking for a while, he said with a smile, "I remember that the sect leader seems to be having a meeting with the elders in the Clear Heart Palace. He said that unless it's an emergency, no one can disturb him. I'm afraid that I'll have to wait until dawn if I go there." That's really disrespectful to fellow Taoist Zhang. How about this, fellow Taoist Zhang, you stay in my Yulan Palace and let Qing Yu and the others accompany you. After I report to the sect leader, I'll let the sect leader come to welcome you personally. How about that? That's fine. Go and do your work." Xiaohua smiled and waved his hand, indicating that Xia Feng should go quickly. Although the Chanha sect was a small sect, in Xiaohua's eyes, the entire sect was actually not inferior to the Imperial Thunder sect. He was very interested to see what the Chanha sect was like. Xia Feng cupped his hands and activated the earth to escape. Xiaohua looked at Xia Feng's back with a thoughtful expression. This was because he didn't need to use any magic to see the flaws in Xia Feng's cultivation. At the same time, he also saw that Xia Feng had been wandering around the gap between the early and middle stages of the nascent soul stage for a long time. If he couldn't break through within 10 years, it was unlikely that he would be able to reach the severed soul stage in this life. Hall Master. Before Xiaohua could withdraw his gaze, another voice sounded out from within the Magnolia Hall, and then another young cultivator with a pale complexion and a beard charged out and shouted towards the sky. Unfortunately, Xia Feng didn't pay attention to him at all and disappeared into a group of palaces at the top of the mountain. Where did sect leader Xia go? The young man was also an early nascent soul stage cultivator. He looked at Lu Qingyu and the others in confusion and asked. Lu Qingyu didn't dare to be negligent. He hurriedly bowed and said, "Vice sect leader Yun, Sect leader Xia went to the Mingxin palace for something. What's the matter? Why are you so reckless? Sect leader told us not to disturb him. Vice sect leader Yun was a little unhappy. He looked at Xiaohua and seemed to be waiting for Xiaohua to come over and greet him. Xiaohua only smiled and nodded at him. He didn't mean to come forward and greet him. Yu Hua hurriedly smiled and said, "It's like this, Vice Sect Leader Yun." However, before she finished speaking, Vice Sect Leader Yun waved his hand impatiently and said, "No need to report. Since Sect Leader Xia already knows, let him do it. Come in quickly. Tonight, we must find 20 children with good aptitude from these children." 20. Hong Feng exclaimed, "Vice Sect Leader Yun, how is this possible? We have already identified tens of thousands of children before, but we didn't find more than 10. How can we find 20 now? Why are you looking at me?" Vice Sect Leader Yun was even more unhappy. He scolded, "It's not like you don't know the situation of the sect. These children are my Chanhe sects." At this point, Vice Sect Leader Yun glanced at Xiaohua vigilantly. He swallowed his words and changed his words, "Anyway, this is the sect leader's order. Quickly follow the order." After speaking, Vice Sect Leader Yun turned and entered the Yulan Palace. He indeed looked very anxious. "Yes, Vice Sect Leader Yun." Hong Feng and the others didn't dare to be negligent. They hurriedly bowed and greeted. "Senior, please don't blame him," Yu Hua said in a low voice very considerately. "Usually, Sect Leader Xia is impatient, and Vice Sect Leader Yun is the one to fill in the gaps. Today, my Chanhe sect is indeed in some trouble, so Vice Sect Leader Yun is also anxious." Why would Xiaohua care about this? He waved his hand and said, "It's okay, I'm just a passerby." "Oh, right, what's the problem with Chanhe sect?" Yu Hua forced a smile and said, "Senior already said that you're just a passerby. We don't need to trouble you with these things." Then, Yu Hua ordered Nua Yeching, quickly ask the disciples on night duty to prepare some spirit fruits and spirit wine. "Yes, yes." Lu Qingyu also came to his senses and shouted, "Yeching, you stay here and accompany Senior Zhang. We'll go to the hall to help first." "Yes, Master." Nua Yeching rolled her eyes and was about to fly away. Xiaohua pulled her back and waved his hand, "No need, you all go to the hall to do your work." "Oh, right, can I enter the Yulan Palace? I want to see what you're doing." It's okay, it's okay." Without waiting for Lu Qingyu to speak, Nua Yeching shouted, "Didn't the sect leader say it clearly just now? Senior, please rest in the hall. Senior, feel free to enter." Lu Qingyu was a little hesitant. After all, Xiafeng only asked Xiaohua to wait in the Yulan Palace. He didn't say that Xiaohua could enter the Yulan Palace. However, when he saw Nua Yeching winking at him, he smiled bitterly in his heart. This disciple of his had been clever since he was young. He was very cunning and often made strange things. His actions must have some profound meaning. Lu Qingyu smiled and said, "In that case, Senior, please come in." How could Xiaohua not see Nua Yeching's funny face? However, the more he looked, the more he liked it. It was as if he was looking at Xiang Zhili in the past. Therefore, he nodded and stepped into the Yulan Palace. As soon as Xiaohua entered, he immediately felt a gaze. Without a doubt, it was Deputy Sect Leader Yun. However, although there was some hostility in Deputy Sect Leader Yun's eyes, he didn't linger on Xiaohua. "Oh, how lively!" Xiaohua didn't pay attention to the strange gaze. He stood at the door and looked into the depths of the hall. Unconsciously, a smile appeared on his face as he spoke. The hall was several li in size. There were 81 huge pillars supporting the roof of the hall. Those pillars were not ordinary dragon pillars. Instead, they were carved with the petals of magnolia flowers. A faint fluorescent light was emitted from the jade pillars. It was as if 81 huge magnolia flowers were blooming in the hall. Xiaohua sighed with emotion inside the palace hall. It was very lively and was divided into a dozen or so regions. Each region had over 100 children. Although these children were standing respectfully, they were still children after all. They couldn't help but whisper, and when the whispers increased, it became noisy. Around each area, there were a few aura-refining disciples walking around. They seemed to be maintaining order. However, because they were too tired, they didn't stop the children from whispering and yawning. In front of each area, there were 2 or 3 children sitting cross-legged. There were a few foundation-building disciples around the children. Some of them were holding ruler-like magic tools and pointing them at the children's foreheads. Some of them were holding different kinds of talismans. They activated their magic power and stuck them between the children's eyebrows. At the head of the hall was naturally the high platform. At this time, Deputy Sect Leader Yun was walking around on the high platform. His eyes were looking from one area to another, and his eyes were filled with anxiety. Around the high platform, there were a few golden core cultivators guarding various places. They were also anxiously looking at the disciples who were appraising. You're tuning into the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.